good afternoon as it is here in Austria, and welcome to the Olympia World at the southern edge of Innsbruck city centre. We've had 2 days of qualifiers, but the World Championships of 2018 are about to get very, very serious for 26 women who are competing in the lead semi-final. The final will be this evening. The medals will be handed out, but first, 8 of the climbers out of this 26 have to earn the right to be there. I'm Charlie Bosco. Alongside me, delighted to say I've got Team USA's Kyra Condi. Kyra, there's a tingle in the venue. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is super exciting. I'm excited to be here too. Bummer not climbing in the semi-final, but always glad to commentate.
And there is the wall here in Innsbruck at the Olympia World. The lead wall is on the left of the venue. And this is a very unusual opportunity to see the warm-up area behind the wall. We don't normally get granted this kind of access immediately before a World Cup. And there is Miho Nanaka, who just over 3 weeks ago was crowned the Boulder World Cup champion for 2018. And on the right there, you can see with the headphones on, the first climber out, Margot Hayes. First of 2 American climbers to climb in the semi-finals today. Austria well represented as well. They had an excellent day in the qualifiers. Ditto Switzerland. Catherine Chung just climbed in and out of our shot. She's third of 3 Swiss climbers in this afternoon's semi-final.
Yeah, we'll also be seeing Petra, who's usually known for bouldering.
The reigning world champion in bouldering, yes. Petra Clinger. It was quite interesting. I chatted to her in Chamonix, and she said, well, compared to Boulder World Cups, the moves on the lead wall aren't super hard, but eventually you just stop working.
Exactly.
So it's a shift of gear for her.
Yeah, that's what we found yesterday and the day before. We saw a lot of boulders, sport climbing as well, just because of the new combined aspect.
Yeah, we also have a combined final for you next Sunday, an Olympic-style combined final of the 6 highest-ranked climbers over the course of the next 8 days. There is the lead wall, 18 degrees and 33, 54, 41 and 21 at the top, and it's 12 meters wide and 15 meters high. The wall doesn't actually look that big when you're underneath it. It's dwarfed by the arena here. We're normally in venues where the wall is the dominant feature, but this arena here in Innsbruck is a big venue, and the wall doesn't actually look 15 meters high, but take my word for it, it is, and there are 51 moves on today's semi-final route.
Yeah, we saw the competitors looking at the route early. Almost hard for them to see the top while standing on the stage.
There's the first 10 climbers out, 26 final, as we usually have in a World Cup semi-final or a World Championship semi-final. There were no big ties, so it is the regulation 26, and there will be a cleaning break after the 13th climber. The young Italian prodigy Laura Rigora will be the first climber out after that cleaning break, and the latter stages of this semi-final have a very Jane Kim, Jessie Pilz, Anna Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret, the last 4 out. Over 2016 and 17, Anna Verhoeven and Jane Kim were really Janja Garnbret's closest competition. This year it's been more Jessie Pilz. She's the only person other than Janja to win a lead World Cup in 2018.
And it was her first win as well.
It was her first win, yeah. She'd had 10 podiums before, but never stood on the top of one. Anak and Jane, both multiple World Cup winners. Can they find a way to beat Janja Garnbret? There's no point pretending she is not the clear favourite. She's utterly dominated women's league climbing over the past 3 seasons, including the World Championships in 2016 in Paris. She is looking to retain her title, but business to attend to first of all in the semi-final. Needs to get through to the final. The first climber to attempt to take a slot in the final, Margot Hayes. There we see it, the number in brackets after her name is her ranking from the qualifying round, so she was joint 25th. So on our graphics today, that's what it signifies. Margot, fantastically successful outdoor climber.
Yeah, as
someone you know
most
well.
people know, yeah. She's a first woman to climb, 15A, and she's a wonderful person as well. Like, super nice, really personable. We all love her. Couldn't be more happy that she's in the semi-final today.
And she is underway, and our semi-final is underway.
Yeah, this is her first big world competition this year for lead climbing. She didn't attend any of the other first couple World Cups this year. She attended a few of the bouldering ones.
Yeah, we saw her in action in Vale. Didn't quite go quite as well as she'd hoped. Things have gone pretty well so far in Innsbruck. Had a bit of a nervous wait yesterday to see, day before yesterday, on Thursday, to see if she'd made it into the semi-finals, but she had. She is underway, and this lower section on the route, when you and I were studying the route, we were thinking, looks really pretty straightforward. The route setters assure us that it isn't quite as easy as it looks.
Yeah, he said it's definitely a gradual route. It gets harder as you get towards the top, but the section in the beginning is, not easy by any means, especially if we're in the, World Championship semifinal. But they don't expect people to fall unless, some sort of mistake happens until higher up. Yeah, this is in the steepest section of the route too, right now, is what Margot's approaching.
Yeah, as we saw on the graphic at the start, there are 5 panels on the wall. Margot now on the steepest bit, and the route really, really, really begins to kick in this first big yellow volume. You can see already Margot, caught a glimpse of her face, definitely already putting plenty of effort in. She's really cruised these lower moves, but as I said, they're not as easy as they might initially appear from below or on screen. Jan Zabranek is our chief route setter on the lead side of things here in Innsbruck.
Yeah, Margot will be really familiar with these holds as well, because a lot of these are American brands. So that's somewhat of an advantage, I think. She's looking like she's climbing really smoothly as well. I think this is one of the first cruxes that she's getting to. There's a jump to that big yellow hold on the huge yellow volume, and that's supposed to be a tough section.
Yeah, again, not a move that's super hard, but it requires full commitment and not a little bit of accuracy as well. Just to give you some idea, that's hole 27, now 28 that Margot's on, out of a total of 51. It's not actually 51 holes, some of the holes count for double if you use them with both hands. But 51 is the maximum score you can get. That would be a top. Margot just over halfway. That's hole 29 now.
Yeah, this is supposed to be kind of a foot first and then 360 section. She's looking really comfortable on the wall, really smooth, and climbing like how you want to be climbing. Sometimes you can't really get yourself into that zone, but she looks like she's really in it right now.
She does, yeah. She was definitely breathing heavily and trying hard lower on the route, but she seems to have managed her energy perfectly. She's kept up a nice steady cadence. Not climbed too fast and rushed or anything, but by the same token, on the sections where she needs to move, she's got through them and manufactured something of a rest here.
She's like a little over halfway maybe through this route right now.
Yeah, that's hold around the 32, 33 mark. Just gets slightly more convoluted near the top. Certainly gets increasingly physical as you get higher, but this is a great start from Margot Hayes. Has to commit up with the left hand.
Yeah, she was second guessing herself for a second, but it looks like she's figured it out again.
These climbers have had a 6-minute observation period. Took place at about 5 to 1, so Margot had the least time to need to remember the route. Do you think, are you a fan of climbing early in the semi-final, a bit later on?
There's benefits and there's some downsides. The downside is that you have to wait so long to, find out if you've advanced on to the next round. And but the benefit is you're not in ISO for nearly as long. You kind of just get to go in and get out. But that's crazy.
Margot's really having to work hard here.
Offer flexibility. This is supposed to be another hard move on the climb up to that blue crimp.
It's really awkward. The route setters called this next move, not the move up to the left, but the pop up with the right hand, which will be coming afterwards, the electric move, because you have to suddenly shock it. And we can see there, Margot going up with the left hand. That'll be a 38 plus, I would imagine, for Margot. We'll double check how the judges score it, but it'd be about a 38 plus on a 51 hold route. Really good start from her. Seemed to manage her energy and her pace.
Yeah,
really
I think she'll be happy with it. She looked like she fought really hard. It's always hard to be 100% happy with how you do, but she looked really good.
This was coming through the through the facing the crowd section. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about whether you like climbing earlier or later.
I kind of do like climbing early, especially in the bouldering rounds. But the bummer is that you have to wait so long to find out, you know, like, is it good enough, and like, will I make it onto the next round? But you also have the freshest holds, you know, like as you said, we're gonna have a cleaning break in the midway through the running order, but you know, it's really nice to be the first one out, and you are always getting a high point. That's kind of the fun thing about it, is, you know, every hold you get is exciting for the crowd. You know, once you get like later and later on, like, you really know where you're supposed to get, because if you get the newest hold, everyone cheers super loud and you know it.
Anna Zakina makes her way out onto the stage. Not a climber we see a lot, as you can see there, from a lack of workup action in 2018 and 2017. But had a brilliant day in the qualifiers 2 days ago. She's next to try and take on Margot Hayes, and she did get a 38 plus, Margot. If this is your first time watching lead climbing, welcome to Innsbruck and welcome to lead climbing. The score is given to you according to which handhold you reach. So before the competition begins, the route setters produce a map of the route and they number each handhold. And if you get to handhold number 30 and then you fall, your score is 30. So compared to bouldering, a relatively simple scoring system, there's still an element of judgment though, and you can also get a plus. So a few other tiny details in there, but a relatively simple scoring system. And it was a 38 plus to get us underway from Margot.
Yeah, it used to be that you could get a minus as well if you touched the next hold, but they took that away when they realized it was just too hard to judge.
As I say, there is an element of judgment. We had quite a lot of appeals in yesterday's qualifiers for the men. Romain de Grange, Sean McColl penalised for touching an advertising sign. There was a technical problem with route A1. So the judges, it's not quite as simple as it might have looked with Margot's score.
And Anna's approaching the steepest section of the wall again.
Yeah, that lower section that we were told was trickier than it looks has so far not caused any problems.
Yeah, I always like when the route starts off a little bit easier, because you get into that flow of climbing, and it's really hard to get that sometimes if it's awkward or just, you know, hard. You have to start trying hard right off the bat. It's sometimes hard to get into that zone that you need to get into to really get high up on the route.
So Anna now, as you said, on the very steepest section of the wall. Crowd just beginning to fill up here in Innsbruck. They only opened the doors not too long ago. The arena's filling up by the second. Margot Hayes already home and hose, 38 plus for her. Anna Zakina, the latest climber to try and hunt her down.
Oh, she just found a knee bar there too. And then she's getting into that, you know, kind of bigger move again. It didn't seem, when Margot did it, she didn't really jump forward. It was more just a dynamic move. And that blocked section of that hold is actually what's usually the best part of that, you know, the big hold that she's on right now with her left hand. And they blocked off the best part.
And there's the jump, the slap through the left hand that the route setters were saying might cause some problems. Margot Hayes had to give it a bit of effort, but still looked relatively in control. But Anna Zakina can't quite find a way through it.
Yeah, you know, Margot went to it with like just a lot of authority. You know, she wasn't ready to fall yet, basically, and I think that's really what helped her there. You know, she didn't hesitate at all, which is sometimes what you need to do. It's hard on a lead climb as well, because you only get that one try. You know, in boulders you can really, you know, throw yourself at a move and it really can, you know, benefit you. But on a lead climb, it's hard to get yourself to take those risks, because if you mess it up, you're done.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things, as you see Anna going up for that move a couple of times from different angles. We're taking our pictures from ORF, by the way, the national Austrian broadcaster. It's one of the things that makes the top lead climbers so impressive when they can consistently win. I'm thinking of the Yanni Garnbretts of this world, but on the men's side, people like Jakob Schubert, last year Romain de Grange. Because as you say, yeah, in the qualifiers you have 2 routes. You can't really completely mess one up, but on the semi-final and the final you only have 1 shot, 1 mistake, it's all over. So when people are able to dominate and win repeatedly, it's even more amazing in a way than in bouldering, where you've got 4 boulders to go at.
Yeah, there's that, but then there's also that, with boulders you can get so many different styles, I feel like. It's hard to say. I've heard both opinions, actually. Usually lead climbers think that lead climbing competitions are harder to be consistent in, and boulderers think that bouldering competitions are more difficult to be consistent in.
Well, of course.
But of course, yeah. But so I'm in the boat where I think it's a little easier to be consistent in a league competition, just because it comes down to more like endurance and execution than it does to sometimes in bouldering there's like a move you just can't do, which is not as often in the lead route. Usually you get too pumped to do a move.
Evgenia Kazbekova is next out, finalist from Arco. That was our last lead World Cup action. She's underway here in Innsbruck. Came out with a big smile on her face, looked pretty determined to enjoy the occasion. If you can't enjoy this, I think you're in the wrong game. So this is the first move that looks potentially tricky. The route setters were thinking you'd actually put your right foot on that tiny red hole just above Evgenia's knee that she's now putting her foot on, but they've all been doing it slightly differently to how it was planned.
Yeah, and as you can tell, all of those red and blue holds have the dual texture on them, so you can't really put your foot, you can only put it in the spot where the hand is. So it's tricky in that way.
There you can see the wall in profile. The lower section of the wall, perhaps from front on, doesn't look that steep, but you really get an idea of it from here. Evgenia now onto the 3rd of the 5 panels where it gets really steep. Once she hits that yellow volume, it's pretty pumpy all the way out until you can get out to that red volcano where we saw Margot taking something of a rest. You can see it there on the right-hand edge of that red triangle.
And this is supposed to be kind of one of the first of the bigger moves on the route. It's not huge, but it's like big enough to make people have to, really go for it. And
we're pretty close to the lead wall in our commentary position here today. You can perhaps see even better than you guys can at home. Evgenia was just beginning to shake with the effort there. She looks like she's found a bit of composure. I don't know if I'd describe these as rests, but she's certainly finding some decent places to stop.
I was going to say, one of the hardest things I feel like for the setters is, most of these girls are so strong, they can rest on basically anything, and so finding positions that are difficult but not too difficult and also not able to, rest on is really difficult as a setter, I think.
Here's Evgenia lining up the jump. Right foot stayed on, and I think that was crucial because her left foot peeled off behind her. See where the climber's got to. So 26 plus for Anna Zaykina. She didn't quite control hole 27, although she got a good hand on it. Now then, what's Evgenia got planned here? So Margot Hayes swung out and faced the crowd, which is how the route setters thought the move was easiest, and Evgenia does pretty similar after thinking about using a slightly different method.
Yeah, she did end up having to do the campus move, but did it facing in instead of out that time.
Just going up to a series of red crimps.
It's crazy watching how pumped someone can look, and they still just keep fighting.
Yeah, Evgenia Kazbekova, we lose her just heading out towards hole 37. That'll be around a 36 plus, not quite matching the high point of Margot Hayes, but she certainly looked like she had a lot of fun. Be interesting to see that again when she fell. Actually seemed to be going pretty well. This was the jump. I think that right foot was, as I said at the time, absolutely crucial. She was really getting a lot out of that. It was keeping her body nice and tight into the wall. This is where we lost her. Did she perhaps just miss the sweet spot of that hole, do you think?
It's possible, but I think she also looked like she was, fighting from that yellow pinch just below that volume. Getting that red crimp with the left hand looked hard for her, and so she was really fighting to get to there, so it might have been just a pump factor.
So we await the arrival of Petra Clinger. Remember her in 2016 when she found the toe hook?
Toe hook.
You remember she in the final she did a boulder and
Oh,
the only
yeah,
way you could hold the
in
move was
bouldering, yes.
sorry, yeah, to catch with the left foot. And she did it and turn and smile to the crowd. One of the
Oh,
moments
yeah,
of that
that's
World
right.
Championships.
Yeah, that was a really exciting final.
Here she comes. A real all-round climber, even takes part in ice climbing competitions.
Oh, that's right. She hurt her knee earlier in the winter this year.
It's a dangerous game, ice climbing, yeah. She's picked up a couple of injuries doing it. Really good to see her though. She always puts on a good show. She's the reigning world champion in bouldering. And as the Olympics looms and combined becomes a bigger and bigger part of world championships, it's going to be interesting to see climbers like Petra taking on all three disciplines.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of boulderers in this semifinal actually. You know, people who primarily boulder. We're going to see Miho and Kyo and Petra and Sassel.
Yeah, it's going to be more and more of a feature of the competitions, isn't it? That people aren't going to be specialists quite as much.
No, yeah.
I think over the next few years we might have to. We'll increasingly think of people like Akio not really as specialists. I mean, her strongest discipline without a doubt is bouldering, but she's looking increasingly good on a lead wall. And then we've got climbers like Tomoa clocking under 6.5 on a speed wall. So.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of the strong boulders I feel like make very strong speed climbers as well, just because of the style that it produces. It's this powerful, climber, and then you can apply that to speed climbing really well.
You can see there, these are the live scores actually. See Petra.
And what might not be obvious to the crowd is that where there's the white tick marks on the yellow holds, there's actually a jib on the inside, like a foothold, that makes the hold a little bit better.
You can see the high points reach there. Still Margot Hayes with the upside down American flag. Maybe a reference to Donald Trump, I don't know. Currently with a high point of 38 plus. Petra looking like she's really beginning to fight. As I say, when I chatted in Chamonix, said the moves aren't that hard. Eventually you just can't do any more of them.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about boulderers sport climbing, I feel like, is sometimes they're better at these big powerful moves, but they also get pumped faster than these sport specialists. So Petra looked like she was really pumped right there, but then she came to a move that she's comfortable with, a big powerful move.
As I say, Petra taking part in ice climbing competitions and increasingly doing leads, so should have reasonably good endurance. She's never been an out-and-out 100% boulderer, but she definitely looked like she was starting to get a bit pumped, a bit low down. Needs to try and find some way to recover. You can see what she's, in inverted commas, resting on. Not a great hold. These red volcanoes are slightly better. We saw Margot Hayes took a pretty long rest on this next one that Petra's heading out for now. Again, she's trying to manufacture some sort of a rest before she launches up the next section. There's red crimps on the yellow volume that are 3 or 4 moves away as we stand. And pretty unforgiving. You
can see her left heel hooks on the no texture part of the left volcano too, and I would be kind of nervous to do that. I would think it would slip, but she looks super solid right now.
Just got to squeeze that bit harder, just take a bit more out of your lower body, I guess, when you can't trust the friction. She's taking a long rest. As I say, that's that red volcano. We saw Margot taking a pretty long pause there.
Yeah, it seems like she's found the good resting position. Like I was saying, a lot of these girls can rest on pretty much anything, so it's super hard to set a climb that doesn't have these rests, and actually that's part of the reason I think why they made the time limit 6 minutes, just so that people don't hang out for the entire time.
I'm just looking down at the clock. Actually, she's got 1 minute 40 left, Petra. So I suspect she had a look at that and realised she needed to get moving. She's looking pretty solid through this section. If she can latch that small blue crimp, which she can, she'll take the lead from Margot Hayes. The crowd enjoyed that one. Every move from here on out is just pushing the high point further and further. She's tired, Petra, but she's fighting and she's setting a new high point. 2 more quick draws to go, about a dozen or so moves. Pops up with the right hand and we lose her just at about mid-height on the head wall.
Petra Clinger with a 42 plus, ahead of Margot Hayes with 38 plus, and the lady from Ukraine with 36 plus. 4th place so far, ladies and gentlemen, time to meet another Russian climber, number 42 in World Cup. She's a boulder specialist in lead. She was in the semi-final in Germany with the 24th place. 29 years younger.
Just had to move to a new commentary box. We await the arrival of Katerina Kiprianova, multiple Boulder World Cup finalists already this year, and most notably last time out in Munich.
Yeah, I think her first final in bouldering that she has ever made was actually the one in China, in Chongqing.
Yes.
And then she's been extremely consistent after that, which is super impressive.
Yeah, we often see it, don't we, where a climber has a breakthrough result and just goes on from strength to strength. So Katja Kiprianova is underway. She's our 5th climber out. 2 French climbers coming up after her, Manon Illy and Hélène Janicot. Charlie Bosco and Kyra Condi live with you from Innsbruck. You can get in touch on Twitter. There's a hashtag IFSCWCH. Don't forget the H, it's not the normal World Cup. Hashtag IFSCWCH.
World Championships.
World Championships, exactly. And this is the women's lead semi-final. 26 women, they're gunning for 8 places in the final, which will take place this evening at 7 p.m.
It's not too often you see a route with this many colors on it at a World Cup.
It's a very aesthetic route, isn't it?
It is. It looks really good.
Certainly no doubting where it goes. It's the only route on the wall right now. We're not doing semi-finals with men climbing at the same time as we often do.
Yeah,
Just
today
the
will
women.
be semi-finals and finals for the women, and then tomorrow will be semi-finals and finals for the men. It's nice and also a little nerve-wracking to have a rest day in between, I think.
Yeah, I suppose it physically might make things a bit easier, having a rest day after the qualifiers.
I feel like it does in some ways, but then also if you don't make it on to the next round, you end up having, if you're competing in like bouldering as well, we had like a 4 to 5 day break, I think, until we climb again. So, I went to the gym this morning and, all the teams were there. Everyone climbing early so that we could get here on time to watch everybody and cheer on for the semifinal.
Making me feel bad, I just drank coffee this morning. Here's Katja, that's a close up at the same hold where we saw Petra taking a good rest. Katja, I think, sensibly actually heading out to the right before she takes the rest. It's this next red volcano that we can see she's aiming for, which seems to be where the best rest is to be had. She's having a good shakeout.
You know, I wonder if they were hoping that 360 move was forced. They were hoping that people would, Margot did it, but they were hoping that people would do that section on that red volume as like a 360, right hand on the first one, left hand on that blue hold, and then right hand again on the highest hold. But everyone after Margot now has done it with a heel hook.
You can see the current top three. Awful long way to go, of course. They've just got to watch and see who can match them or surpass them, as Petra Clinger really beginning to fight hard.
Really
That's hold number 39, so she's just moved ahead of Margot Hayes, but she won't quite match the high point set by bouldering world champion Petra Clinger. Belayer just needs to get his choreography right to pop her down on the stage. There we go.
Had to avoid those lights there.
And looks like she didn't leave anything on the wall there, Petra Clinger. Strong performance from her at this early stage. That'll put her into a very provisional second place. It's a 39 for her. This was lower down on the route before that first big yellow volume.
I wonder if it's possible that this route suits kind of the bouldery style a little bit better, just due to the big moves and the type of holds that they're using too. It's a lot of those open-handed, kind of not quite slopey, but like slopey jug-ish. Definitely not jugs, but you know, that's kind of the type of holds that you see more often on bouldering climbs.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of moves. I'm thinking about the big move up to the pocket where we lost Anna Zaikina. Definitely a couple of moves with a real bouldery feel to them. So first of two French climbers in a row. The only two French climbers in today's semi-final. It's Manon Illy. After her will be Hélène Janicot. Hélène was part of the route setting team in Chamonix. Back competing here in Innsbruck, and Manon Illy wasting no time at all, no wave to the crowd, no nothing, straight out mentally rehearsing the moves. As I mentioned earlier, the climbers did have a 6-minute group observation period earlier on. It's not like in the qualifiers where they watch a demonstration video, but they do get an observation period and they can discuss en masse the route.
Yeah, I wonder if I think that route preview was a little difficult just because of the size of the stage and the height of the wall. You can't really see the holds up high.
Scores are actually just appearing on the left, but Petra Clinger is actually in the lead. For some reason, her score not coming through. She is ahead of Petra Clinger. Set a high point. It's now disappeared on our screens as well. I wonder if there's perhaps a technical incident with Petra Clinger. Her score has disappeared from the official graphics on screen and also from the IFSC website. So we shall see.
Yeah, there's a couple things that tend to happen in league comps. I have no idea if that's what's happened with Petra at all, but sometimes you see appeals because people have stepped on the bolt hangers on the wall. And yeah, as you said, we had two yesterday with Sean McCall and
Romain Desgranges.
Yeah, with accidentally stepping on the posters that are on the wall. They actually are pretty good. It's almost like a little half centimeter.
We're talking
sign.
About the advertising sign, such as the Tyrol sign immediately to the right of Manon.
Yeah, and there just happened to be one kind of right where your foot would go naturally, and you just feel your foot hit something and you use it because you think it's a hold. So it was really a bummer.
Shame for Sean McCall and Romain Desgranges, but rules be rules. We'll see what's happened with Petra Clinger. We'll try and find some information for you. If you're following the scores live on the IFSC website or the official Innsbruck 2018 app, the score will have disappeared. And now it's back up. Who knows? Who knows? Let's keep an eye out. And Manon Illy.
There you can see one of the jibs that's marked with a tick mark on the holds. that are maybe not immediately obvious to the crowd or to the climbers on the ground even, but they make the holds a little bit better. I feel like Menon has been having a good year this year.
Yeah, brilliant year. Highlight of a 4th place, but consistently making finals. We had 4 lead World Cups in the space of 4 weekends in July. It was a really busy period. It was kind of survival of the fittest by the end,
Yeah.
week after week of competing, but she's had a brilliant July.
Yeah, I think the only lucky part there is that it was all in the same time zone.
Yeah, that's true.
We were talking earlier about how difficult the change from Japan to Vail was for the Bouldering World Cups.
Yeah, the lead climbers had a lot of competitions in July, but as you say, they're all in Europe. Did make life slightly easier. The boulders had a pretty hectic schedule this year, particularly back in June with the transfer from Tokyo to Colorado in the space of 4 days. Mano Ili now really getting stuck into the final third of this route. Could we see a new high point set? Petra Clinger got up to the blue holes on the yellow volume that we just saw a second ago when we were on a slightly wider shot. And Mano
She's looking pretty comfortable.
Yeah, very composed. Cheeks not puffing too much. She matches Katja Kiprianova. You can see there, hold 42 plus, and it's just reaching through with the right hand, the so-called electric move where you suddenly have to shock yourself into action.
Yeah, Jan was telling us, the route setter, that it's kind of, you get tricked into kind of a slower climbing style for like from the red volume into the yellow volume, and then all of a sudden you have to kind of be electric and be fast and get that hold number 40 is what that is.
Just so that you know, Petra Klinger's score is back up. It's been changed actually to a 42.5. So there obviously was an appeal, presumably lodged by the Swiss team, perhaps?
So sometimes with route maps for sport climbing is if the setters think that it's not correct, they can change it. So they have it as, if somebody then uses like an intermediate hold that they didn't think was going to be a hand hold, they add it to the route map. It's a fluid system.
Yeah, the route map is not absolutely set in stone.
Exactly. And so if someone successfully uses, another hold, then they add it in, and then it's counted as 42.5 because they already have the route set as 42 and 43.
There we see it. Petra Clinger is leading the way. Her score did temporarily disappear. And here is the second French climber in a row, Hélène Janicot, 19th in the qualifiers yesterday, 25 years old and a World Cup winner. Albeit 6 years ago, but don't bet against her.
We've seen her in a final this year too in Arco.
Yeah. And she looked really impressive in the qualifiers yesterday. I have to say, looked like she was capable of being a bit higher up the order. I think 19th maybe didn't quite reflect how strong she looked.
Yeah, the climbs yesterday seemed to be tripping up some people. There was a kind of one that was a little bit more unbalanced, which made for some heartbreaks for some people, falling lower than they wanted to. And then there was just a few stopper moves on some of the other climbs. So there was kind of big ties on those, and so it really came down to how you did on the other climb. Or if you happen to not fall there and get that next hold, it was like a big advantage.
See there, Petra Clinger still leading the way. I can see her, she's right across at the other side of the arena from us. You said earlier one of the disadvantages of climbing early is you just have to watch and see if everyone can match your high point, but Petra, so far, 3 moves, well actually 3.5 moves ahead of anyone else.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple tops on this climb.
Yeah, we were chatting before we came on air to Jan Zabranek, the chief lead route setter for this Innsbruck World Championships. who's a busy man, finished work at 1 a.m. last night on this women's semi-final route. And he definitely feels the route can be topped by the climbers we have in the semi-final. He didn't want to speculate by how many or by who, but certainly feels that this is a route where we'll see tops.
Yeah, I think the top section will be really exciting too, so hoping we see some people up there.
And there you can see where Petra Clinger got to. It was actually a 42.5, not a 42 plus for her score. She's now Ellen Jenico lining up what should have been a jump,
Yeah,
but she
Elaine
did it.
that very differently.
Yeah, did that very controlled as well.
She got a really high foot on that, the big pinch hold, and yeah, managed to keep both feet on.
Looking composed here, Ellen Jenico. So the tactic seems to have been for most of the climbers to try and get as much rest as they can around this big maroon volume, particularly on that right-hand volcano hold that she's about to head out to now. Chooses to rest before getting there as well.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing about having kind of an easier beginning to a climb is you just need to make sure you don't waste too much energy. It's easy to, kind of rest too low and then suddenly you've rested but you didn't really need to. And then when you do get to a spot where you need to, you don't have enough time.
Just asking for a bit more from the crowd, and they deliver. There's Cécile Avazou, just caught a glimpse of that. Now part of the French coaching team. Now Ellen launching onto hole 35, now 36, needs to get the clip done at some stage. She'll stab her left foot out before she does, just to get in herself in as comfortable a position as possible.
I think she may only have 35 seconds left, so that may be why she left that rest so fast.
It's actually a cameraman standing right in front of the timer.
It's either a minute or...
Hard to tell from here. Let's see if she can match Petra Clinger. She's getting pretty close. Petra Clinger, 42.5 her score. Ellen Jenico creeping up with the right hand.
Ouch.
And it was around the move where we lost Petra. I think it might be a 42 plus. It was actually 2 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah. So it wasn't as...
Wasn't as tight as we thought.
She's actually then one of the faster climbers we've seen so far, I think.
Yeah, I mean, had she had enough energy, certainly had more than enough time to top. This is where she took a bit of a rest and then asked for the crowd to give her a bit of encouragement. Which
is actually important to note. If there's a tie, it usually comes down to time, but you'd usually do countbacks first. And since we had 2 groups yesterday, 2 days ago during our qualifiers, you can't go back to a countback because it's unfair since we had different climbs. Similar to the bouldering.
So you can just see her going up for hole 43 there. And it's also a 42.5. So it's clearly a handhold at the, it's 42 there and 42.5 on my screen, so figure that one out. I've got 42.5 plus for Petra and 42.5 for Ellen. We said earlier the judges have got work to do. It's not always clear, and they've certainly got their work cut out here.
Yeah, so what I think that would mean would be that Petra used the foothold that wasn't originally marked as a hand and moved off of that. And we saw Ellen grab it and control it and then move off of it, go back down to a different hold. But since it was down to a hold that she had already used, it doesn't count as positive movement. And so she probably touched it and then did get positive movement, but not off of the highest hold that she had gotten, if that makes sense.
It does make sense,
yeah.
Thank you. Anne-Sophie Collin now, the second of 3 Swiss climbers. Her compatriot, Petra Clinger, is currently leading the way.
I've always thought it would be a little stressful to be one of the belayers at these competitions.
I often feel for the belayers. Yeah, I mean, if you do your job, no one notices you.
Exactly.
And if you don't do your job, you're the villain of the competition. I have to say, I'm impressed at how rarely we have issues
Problems,
with
yeah.
belaying. It's standard generally very high, as it should be, but it's still, I'm racking my brains for the last time I can remember an incident. Just how it should be.
I'm not sure, but I thought there might have been during yesterday's men's qualifier with Yoshiyuki. He got to reclimb on one of the climbs.
Yes.
And I thought that might have been a belayer incident, but I wasn't sure.
Is Anne-Sophie Colle. Catherine Cheung is still to come of Team Switzerland. Brilliant day for them in the qualifiers. And Anne-Sophie climbing really well this year. Previous World Cup podiumist in Arco in 2017. She got second place. That was a topsy-turvy World Cup in Arco in 2017. All sorts of strange results and odd moves.
Our semifinal climb in Arco was it was hard down low, so we actually lost a lot of really good climbers at this like kind of low crux that was really, it was not quite low percentage, but it was really uncomfortable, and you kind of had to just keep moving, and a lot of times, you know, people can second guess themselves, and a lot of people fell there, and so I think it was also, there's also some upsets in the semifinal even. It's one of the few lead World Cups I've gone to actually, so.
The gelato is a big draw.
To Argo, absolutely.
So Anne-Sophie Colle, a lead specialist, and going pretty well on the route so far. Got through the very steepest section of the wall with a minimal of fuss. Now she's just got this big move up with the left hand. You got to go full commitment. Anna Zaikina we lost here. No problem at all for Anne-Sophie. Now you can see 3 minutes 38 left on the clock.
Yeah, it really seems that if you get that big move, you kind of make it a lot more moves, maybe like 10 or so at least.
Now she's heading out right to the big red volume of the volcano holds, where there's something resembling a rest. She's the 8th climber out, Anne-Sophie, so that score that's coming up is her live score. Petra Clinger score only just fitting in the box, 42.5 plus. Will she turn to face the crowd? No, only Margot Hayes, the first climber out, has done what the route setters wanted, which was to swing and cross through and face the crowd. Everyone else has used that heel hook. As you said,
you can see the kind of precarious nature of it.
It's a dual texture hold, and where she's got a heel is one of the low friction parts. You can't imagine it's an especially secure position, but Petra Clinger looked really solid then, and Sophie Colle does as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about lead climbers is there's just a number of heel hooks that they can get on anything that I would never think to do ever that work. It just amazes me.
Decides to go after a relatively short rest. We've seen climbers pause there for an awful lot longer, and now she's on her way to the red crimps. The DJ cranks up the music, and Anne-Sophie Colle heads out to the left. Chooses to clip early. We saw Ellen Jenico get her feet across before she clipped. Anne-Sophie gets it done.
Currently looking pretty comfortable. And this is the section where we lost Margot Hayes.
Time unlikely to be an issue for Anne-Sophie Colle. It's just a question of how much energy she got. How many of these pumpy moves can she do? She's looking super strong through here. If she can get off this yellow volume and onto that big blue banana-shaped hold, she'll take the lead.
The high point that we've seen, yep.
She looks like she's definitely got something left in the tank. Right foot goes out. It's getting so physical now. Slaps up with the right hand, and again we lose it. Just going up for that big blue banana-shaped hold.
So the thing there is that she maybe didn't use the 42.5 hold that we saw Petra and Helene get credit for. So I wonder if that'll cost her. But she looked really strong regardless.
Yeah, the judges have really got their work cut out today. So this was her coming through and pulling onto the head wall. And even at this stage, she looked pretty solid, but you get seemed to get very tired very quickly coming off that big yellow volume.
She made that section with the electric move look really good. Yeah, I think she touched the 42.5, but I don't know if I would say it was control or not.
You could see where she was going for. It's that catch with the right hand. Yeah, definitely feel like she had some energy left there. Yeah, you could see an amazing view behind her, the Olympia World Arena here in Innsbruck. Charlie Bosco and Kyra Condi were watching it, and there we see Anne-Sophie Collet, 42 for her. Wouldn't be surprised if that 42 got a plus. We shall see. As it is, though, it's still Petra Clinger leading the way, and Evgeniko just behind. Here is Mia Krampel. Competed in the Youth World Championships in Moscow in the middle of August, and here she is in the Senior World Championships in Innsbruck in early September.
First of 3 Slovenians in the semi-final here.
Yeah, still got Lučka Rakovec to come and Janja Garnbret. A good Youth World Championships, already a finalist in a lead World Cup in 2018, 7th in Briançon in July. This lower section of the route, which looks relatively straightforward at first glance, has proved relatively straightforward. We haven't had any climbers really having any moments on it.
Yeah, this year in general has seemed, I feel like there's been a lot of like first-time finalists, also first-time winners in bouldering for sure.
Yeah, we had 7 different winners in the 7 World Cup on the men's side of the bouldering. So here's Mia through the series of crimps. Again, we haven't seen anyone really come unstuck on this section. As you mentioned earlier, it's really a case of just climbing it efficiently. Don't take a rest if you don't need one. Just get through it with the minimum amount of effort. Try and have as much left in the tank for the upper section. And Mia untroubled, it would seem, at this stage. Definitely a climber who's had something of a breakthrough year in 2018. She's been there or thereabouts for a while, but feels like she's really stepped up a level this season. Got this committing slap up now to the big yellow volcano hold with the left hand, so the right hand safely in position. No problem at all.
Yeah, that move hasn't been proving too difficult for most of our climbers.
No, we've only had Anna Zaukina, who we lost there. Everyone else has been through it with a minimum of fuss. Now then, will she make the route setters happy and swing out and face the crowd? Take a good look at the clock and she will see that it reads 3 minutes 20 seconds left. Increasingly vocal crowd cheering her on. She's very quickly through that section. We've seen climbers take quite long rests midway across that volume. She chose to get straight through it and get to the really good volcano hold on the right hand end of it. Not taking much of a rest here, Mia Krampel. She's getting stuck straight into things.
Yeah, she's approaching kind of the cruxiest section of the climb that we've seen so far.
Feet just cut loose. It's a pretty uncomfortable position to hold. You can't get your feet on. She just needs to figure out how to free up her left hand to go to that first of the blue crimps.
And here's the next next hard move where we've lost some climbers.
Yeah, if she can extract herself from this yellow volume at the top and get onto that blue-shaped banana, she will, the blue banana-shaped hold, excuse me, she will take the lead. It's looked like a slightly awkward position to clip, just fumbled with it, and she was at a quite an uncomfortable position.
We had heard that actually the best spot to clip that from is from this hold. And so that's our new high point.
She has latched it, and she will have heard the crowd, no doubt, cheering. She is now pushing that high point further and further. Mia Crampel heading for that big yellow volume. Volcano hold. There is a small red jib inside it to aim for, and she's found it.
And then now we have another section. You kind of get out to that. Oh,
that's so frustrating for Mia Crampel. She just slipped.
she was looking really good too.
Yeah, she set a new high point. Remember,
Yeah, and what we had heard is that the next section after the next move shouldn't be too challenging for whoever gets up there.
yeah, the route looks very, very toppable all of a sudden. Mia Crampel
Was
finding a
our
way through it.
9th climber out. Still have quite a few to go.
Hopefully we can see again where she fell. You can see not lacking power, but it's a frustrating one for her because she got the move done that stopped our previously top 3 climbers, and then her feet just slipped. This is where it must have been. Yeah, right foot just peeled
Yeah,
off.
she just lost the
pulled
right
her
foot.
away from the wall. And plenty of time as well. You could see the clock ticking behind her.
A lot of the jibs, the like footholds that they've been using have, as you can see, kind of the hold that we're seeing right now, the dual texture on the outside. So it could be that I can't see it, but the hold around the corner was one of those, and you know, it's so easy to slip off of those.
So frustration for Mia Crampel, our 10th climber, our first Austrian, Sandra Lettner, about to make her way onto the stage, and you can see there it was hold 45 that Mia Crampel got to. Hold 45 is that big yellow volcano with the tiny red screw-on jib just inside. Now, if she could have got a couple more moves done, the route setters say it's close to in the bag if you can get off that yellow hold and onto the huge blue one next to it. Here we go. The volume increases in the Olympia World in Innsbruck as the first Austrian of this World Championships takes to the wall. Sandra Lettner, another climber.
She was on the podium in the Moscow World Cup.
Yeah, having an excellent season, and not just in the lead.
Yeah, in bouldering, yeah.
Real all-rounder. Absolutely in the reckoning to take one of those 6 spots in the combined final at the end of the week.
Yeah, also born in 2001, so kind of on the younger side too.
So up through the big dual texture holes at the start of the route. Said to be trickier than it initially looks, but none of the climbers have really had any troubles with it so far. What's your take on climbing in front of a home crowd? Encouraging or unwanted extra pressure?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, some people do really, really well with that extra pressure and climb better, but I don't know. I think I like it. I've always loved the Vail World Cup and the energy that's there, and I'm not even from Colorado, but you know, you feel the love, I guess.
Sandra Lettner definitely feeling the love here. She got a huge cheer when she walked out, and it was a good close-up there. We saw some of the black pen marks on the volumes. Of course, the route setters set these routes in advance and then take them down, and they have marks on the wall to signify where they should put the volumes back on. And they've been working for over a week already, the lead route setting team. Ditto the boulderers. We've got the bouldering program starting in the middle of next week. And their work still won't be done, the lead route setters. They've got to set for the combined finals next Sunday, so awful lot of work already done and an awful lot more still to go. And Sandra Lettner looks like she's suddenly having to work quite hard, needed to just recompose. Looked like she was slightly overdoing a couple of moves there. refound her composure, and as if to encourage her just to slow it down, the DJ puts on some mellow reggae style music.
Just before turning it back up again.
Yeah, just before turning it back up again. That's enough relaxation.
She's about to get to our first big move here.
Just needs to go full commitment. No problem at all for Sandra Lettner, and she can now get on with moving out to the right. More of those black marks visible on the holes that the route setters use. We're getting some extreme close-ups here in Innsbruck. Taking our pictures from ORF, the one of the national Austrian TV stations. That's how the route setters wanted it done. She's the second climber after Margot Hayes to do the move.
Hear the reaction from the crowd when that happened.
To do it how it was
envisioned. Everyone was really excited. That's usually why the route setters throw in those moves, just entertainment and also difficulty. But
yeah, never a bad thing to suddenly bring the crowd to life. Every move being cheered here by the Austrian crowd for Sandra Lettner. Things beginning to get serious from here on out.
She's found a different rest than a lot of the other climbers have, like we've seen take. All the other ones have done the heel hook and like hanging below the volume, and she's kind of perched on top of it, which might be better because it takes a lot of the weight off of your arms.
Really fighting now, Sandra Lettner, a series of tiny crimps, and it doesn't really let up. Chooses to clip early. Now she needs to head out left, match that hold. She'll probably go out with the left foot first. She does. Now she'll match it. Oh, the left foot popped, and we lost her just as she was about to pull onto the head wall around the hold 37-38 mark.
It was interesting that she chose not to use the foothold there. Instead, she put her foot against the volume and didn't use the little blue foot jib, and then her foot slipped. But she also looked like she was fighting really hard, so.
This is a replay of the big committing move up with the left hand where we lost Anna Zaikina. As I say, we're getting the closest of close-ups today.
You know, I always think that I'm happy with with how a route goes if I fall off when I feel like I couldn't have done a single other move. A single move more, I guess. It's always a bummer to slip off a little early or make a mistake. But, you know, there's nothing much that you can do if you get just too pumped, other than have gotten pumped less.
This was where she did slip. She was crossing through with the left hand, the right hand, excuse me, and then that left foot either slipped or she perhaps moved it when she shouldn't have done.
Yeah, it's interesting that she chose not to use that the blue foot jib on the volume.
Eloise Dumont, the first of two Belgian climbers in the semi-final today. Annette Verhoeven will be climbing fourth to last. Eloise, as you saw on the score there, no World Cup finals this year, but consistently making semi-finals. She's done so here in Innsbruck. For those of you just tuning in, welcome to the Olympiahalle on the edge of Innsbruck city centre, right next to the Sill River and the Tivoli Stadium that used to be home to the biggest gym in Innsbruck, since replaced by the enormous Kletterzentrum on the north of the city, where the qualifying round for this semi-final took place. Charlie Bosco and Kyra Condi here. Make sure you get in touch on Twitter. Hashtag IFSCWCH. Got any questions, observations, predictions? Let us know. This is Eloise Dumont. She's the 11th climber out. We've got two more climbers before there will be a cleaning break. And then the final 13 of the semi-final. They're gunning for 8 spots in the final.
And the final will take place tonight after the semi-final round?
Yeah, 7 p.m. tonight. Right here.
And then we'll see all of the male climbers tomorrow.
So Mia Krampel still leading the way, 45 for her. She was the 9th climber out, 42.5 plus for Petra Clinger, 42.5 for Ellen Janico, and Sophie Collet 42 plus. I said at the time when she was awarded 42, that might get a plus added onto it, and so it's proved. So Eloise Dumont is hunting down a place in the top 8. Of course, she can't guarantee it because there's more than 8 climbers to go. But having seen what we saw from Mia Krampel, I suspect if you can probably latch that blue banana-shaped hole, that could be enough for a place in the final. That was roughly what the route setters were anticipating.
I also think that more people have gotten higher on the route than they originally probably expected.
Yeah, I think on that move that we've just seen Eloise Dumont doing, they thought they might lose a few more climbers. As it stands, we've only lost 1 on that move. Very eerie music echoing around the Olympia world. And this is the section where there's something resembling a rest to be had, different ways of taking it and different ways of getting there. Again, she's choosing to hang underneath. We saw Sandra Lettner in a slightly different position, kind of knee pressed, left knee pushed against the volume.
She is finding that rest that we've seen other climbers take as well.
Yeah, with the right foot jabbed out right as well. If you've got the flexibility, that looked a reasonably good rest position. She's not hung around though, she's getting straight on with it.
Yeah, she didn't spend much time there.
Almost half her time remaining, just under 2:40 left. And just slaps up with the right hand around the whole 36 mark. And Eloise Dumont looked like she had a bit of energy left.
I almost wonder if she should have rested a little longer on that, the good rest we've seen people take.
Has one final look up at the route as she unties. This is very low down with the Belgian fingernails.
I think her shoes were colored in with the flag colors as well.
Yeah, you can see it on her left foot there. This was earlier on, heading out to where she could try to engineer a rest.
Next up, we're going to see Solsa from South Korea.
Yeah, another climber that we see more in bouldering competitions.
Another good all-arounder too.
Yeah, absolutely. 24-year-old Solsa makes her way out onto the stage. You can see they're ranked 13th from the qualifiers. She's had much better results than the graphic might suggest in the bouldering. Remember, these are just the lead statistics.
They've shown a few bouldering statistics as well, actually.
Yeah.
Moscow for Sandra Lettner, but yeah.
The graphics we're seeing on the screen are the lead-only ones. Solsa, a climber able to make semi-finals in 2 disciplines. I don't actually know how she's getting on with the speed climbing.
I think she did really well in the Asian Games, which was the overall format.
I was just trying to remember what her time was.
I think she got second to Akio, who won.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what her time on the speed wall was. I'll look it up. Either way, a real all-rounder, and again, we've got 6 climbers progressing to an Olympic-style combined final
on the
next Sunday, on the last day. Yeah, and Solsa could definitely find a way into that.
Let's go.
It's really a 3D route. You can tell from the top-down angle just how many volumes and positions you can get into with what the route setters have done.
Salsa, considering she's on the section of the route that's really designed to get people tired, doesn't look especially tired. She's having no troubles. Now she'll head up to this big kind of Snickers bar hold. And,
as Jan told us.
Yeah, exactly. Jan Zabranek, chief route setter in the lead, described it thus.
It's really interesting talking to the route setter about the climb before anybody has climbed on it, because you get the interesting insight into what they think will happen, which is not always what happens, and often isn't what happens.
Yeah, Salsa using a completely different method here.
I wonder if we'll see her do our 360 or.
Yeah, well, she is a very strong boulder. Power's not going to be an issue. It's just whether she fancies doing it that way. So now she's on the red volcano where a lot of climbers have taken quite a long rest. She's climbed pretty quickly. She's got just over half of the time remaining, 3 minutes exactly now. Choosing not to take much of a rest. Salsa looking very, very composed.
She's looking, really
now
ready to take on this next section.
Yeah, we lost Sandra Letner heading out left here. Salsa looking super calm. Doesn't really let up much here for the next half a dozen or so moves. So this is what the route setters call the electric move. You've suddenly got to shock your body into action, and Salsa went up with the right hand. She hit the hold, perhaps missed it by a millimetre or two from the absolute perfect place to hit it. And we lose her heading up towards hold 40. It's going to be something in the region of a 39 plus for her.
Yeah, won't be seeing her in the final, but definitely putting her in a really good spot for the overall ranking.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, it's not just a space in the final up for grabs today. Overall ranking could be crucial if you want to take part in that 6-person combined final next Sunday, as you rightly say. So I'm actually quite surprised she fell where she did, Salsa. She looked one of, if not the smoothest climber up to that stage.
It was interesting. She looked really, really good until she grabbed that left hand crimp, and then suddenly you could see the pump hit. I feel like some climbers kind of are the type that don't get pumped, and then as soon as they're pumped, they fall. And then other climbers are the type who get pumped, a little earlier and then can fight through it for a really long time. I'm kind of more the latter. I get pumped low and then I have to fight for a really long time, but you see it sometimes where someone looks really good and then all of a sudden you see it in their elbows when they kind of come up like that, and then they're off.
Here is Catherine Cheung, the third of 3 Swiss climbers through, so all of them through in the first half of the semi-final.
And then there's a cleaning break right after her.
Yeah, there is a cleaning break after the 13th climber, which is Catherine. The route setting team clean the route. Hoping for some nice slow-mo close-ups from the ORF, the Austrian broadcasters. We are taking our pictures from ORF today. It's not the normal IFSC media team. They've got an awful lot of very shiny, expensive-looking equipment I was lusting over earlier on, including the crane camera, which is currently about 5 meters from Catherine Chung and providing us with this shot right here. So, as I say, we're taking our pictures from Austrian TV. And we're in the big Olympia World Arena on the south of Innsbruck city. We had the qualifiers at the Kletterzentrum, the enormous climbing facility on the other side of town. Had a question on hashtag IFSCWCH on Twitter about why we're suddenly indoors. It's just basically a case of crowd capacity. The arena here just holds enough people for the finals in the Kletterzentrum. There just isn't the capacity for the number of people that would want to watch. So we move indoors for the semi-finals and the finals. And the combined final next Sunday will also be in the Olympia World, and the qualifiers will be in the Kletterzentrum. Fortunately, we've got very good weather forecast last year for the Youth World Championships here in Innsbruck. We had a lot of rain.
There's been a lot of rain. I've been hanging out here in Innsbruck for the last few weeks after Munich and before this, after the Munich Bouldering World Cup, before this World Championships, and it's been raining a lot, actually.
It's cleared up with perfect timing, though. Sun shines on the right.
Yeah, the whole next 6 days look like they're supposed to be sunny.
It's hoping. Catherine Chung, steady as you like so far, just readjusting on her right foot. Brilliant day in the qualifiers. As I mentioned, highest ranked of the 3 Swiss climbers to come through to this semi-final. 26 climbers through, gunning for 8 places in the final. Even those that don't make the final, as Cara Conley mentioned a few minutes ago, are also after some ranking points and trying to find a place in that 6-person Olympic combined final, which will take place a week tomorrow here in the Olympia World. Catherine onto the big Snickers bar hold. And now she's got the slap up with the left hand coming. That's where we lost Anna Zaikina. Everyone else has negotiated it okay. How can Catherine Chung get on? No problem at all.
She is looking maybe not quite as comfortable as some other climbers we've seen go through this section, but luckily she's going to have that red volume as a time to relax before hitting the next cruxy section.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to have quite found that nice rhythm just yet that Sol Sa, who we saw climbing 12th, Catherine Chung being the 13th climber. Sol Sa had a really nice rhythm, and Catherine not quite found that so far. But as you rightly say, she's made it onto the red volume where there is something of a rest to be had. Choosing to take a rest on that blue crimp. Her compatriot Petra Clinger had a good rest on that as well. Got herself in a bit of an awkward position there, Catherine Cheung. Looked like she wanted to cross straight through with her left hand and kind of stopped halfway.
Yeah, used the volume as an intermediate.
Yeah, it didn't look the most comfortable of positions, I have to say. Now she's on with the right hand on that red volcano hold. Thought about using the drop knee, but just goes straight up with her left hand. Barely rested at all. She's in a different position. This is a bit more where we saw Sandra Lettner resting. The feet high up instead of hanging beneath you.
Yeah, the
Checks
thing
her watch.
with this position is it gets the weight off your hands a little bit more, but you end up, you can rest your right hand really well, but not your left hand super well. So.
So she chose to take a bit of a rest. 1 minute 15 left on the clock. The time's gone by quickly. Needs to get moving. She'll cross through with the right hand hopefully now, then presumably get the clip done.
Not the most comfortable, but she's still making moves.
Yeah, still going.
Clearly fighting, and
she's been on the route over 5 minutes now. Stabs out with the left foot, and you can see her just beginning to really grimace from the effort.
Yeah, and what seems to be important for this next move is to really rock your left knee over your foot and sit on it, which is how a lot of the other girls have done it.
Just takes a tiny little shake out as she bumps up to hole 39. Catherine Chung now heading up with the right hand, and we lose her just heading up to hole 40. It'll be a 39 plus, I would imagine.
Oh, sorry. Her arm ended up getting under the rope there, and she had to switch it around before moving again. I wonder if that was if that maybe could have made a difference for her doing that move.
Interesting one from Catherine Cheung there. Never, as you said, just never looked like she quite got into the route, never looked 100% comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things with lead climbing is you really need to find that flow and get comfortable on the route. Otherwise, you're just going to be fighting from a spot where you normally wouldn't be fighting from, you know?
Can't get much closer of a close-up than that. Accurate footwork from Catherine. So we've now got the cleaning break. You can see her check her watch there, and she might have been a bit dismayed by what she saw. She's been on the wall at about 5 minutes at that stage. This is where we lost her, just going up with the right hand.
You can see that hand switch around the rope again.
Yeah.
Doesn't look entirely pleased with it.
It's just the kind of distraction you don't need. That's a better angle on it. It's effectively an extra move, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And she looked, you could see from her elbow, like that she was definitely pumped when she was on that left-hand hold, and just any extra time needing to hold that position is difficult.
So there we can see it. Mia Krampel still leading the way. We want the top 8 to go through. Mia Krampel, I suspect, may well have done enough, and Petra Clinger might well have done enough. Ellen Janico the same. Once you're getting down to Catherine Cheung, Manon Ili, and Katja Kiprian over in Solsar, you would suspect that won't be enough to make your way through, but we shall see. Charlie Bosco and Kyra Condi here with you live from the Olympia World, the arena on the edge of Innsbruck city centre. Kyra, you've alluded to it a couple of times. You're primarily a boulderer, although you had not a bad day in the qualifiers for the lead a couple of days ago.
No, I was actually quite happy with my result. It would have been, awesome to make the semifinal. It's always one of the goals, is to advance to the next round. But I was quite happy with my climbing. Like I was saying, for me, one of the biggest things that I like to have out of a lead competition is I want to fall when I feel like I couldn't have physically done another move, and that's kind of what happened to me on both climbs. So I was happy with it. Yeah.
And for people that are watching climbing for the first time, hopefully that's quite a few people, people might watch it and think, okay, so bouldering you need to be powerful, and lead climbing you need to be maybe less powerful but hang on for longer. What are the more subtle differences for someone like you coming from bouldering and doing more and more lead?
I would say that for me, sorry, there's a little bit of a loud music coming through our headphones right now. Making it difficult to come up with an answer.
Yeah, suddenly we've got a load of rock music, which you guys can probably hear at home coming through our headphones. There we go.
There we go, yeah.
Or not.
But for me, I guess some of the subtle differences, I'd have to say, bouldering is kind of about how hard you grab onto things, and doing just a few moves, and you don't really have to conserve energy. And so for me, one of the hardest things is as you're going up, you have to try and not do every move as if it's the hardest move. And that's kind of what I do in bouldering, is I try really hard on every single move, and hopefully that gets you to the top, because you can have that energy to do like 7 moves in a row, but you can't have that energy to do like 50 moves in a row. But that, and also one of the hardest things for me is to actually be able to get a lot back on a rest. I feel like I have good power endurance from bouldering. Like I'm able to do a lot of hard moves in a row, but you don't often have a hold like this, like we're seeing on the screen right now, to rest on, because you're bouldering and you need to do that.
Rest,
it's way less, such. Yeah. And so I find getting that, getting the rest back, like getting the pump to leave while I'm on a rest is one of the hardest things. It's like the last thing that comes for me when I'm sport training. Instead, I have to just try and not get pumped for as long as possible. Because I know I'm not going to be able to rest where other people might be able to find a good rest.
We're watching some nice slow motion replays. This was Mia Krampel, who's currently leading the way. The Slovenian coach is enjoying that.
That shot almost looks staged.
Yeah,
it was definitely while she was climbing, but
it was definitely while she was climbing. That was where she got to the high point. She looked capable of topping the route.
If she hadn't had that kind of tragic foot slip, we maybe would have seen our first top. Sandra Lettner on the screen right now, who's the first Austrian climber who we saw.
See our route setting team there. Just cleaning the route, that's Jan Zabranek at the sharp end of the rope. And he's getting pretty close to the final holes he'll need to clean. Mia Krampel got to the yellow volcano, just above the blue banana hole that Jan is heading to now.
He's actually made pretty quick work of...
Yeah, I was thinking he's flown up there.
Of cleaning this, yeah.
can see they're 21 degrees overhanging that top section of the wall, hasn't it? And Jan Zabranek already on his way down. Some rate of work from Jan.
Yeah, that was impressive.
The quickest cleaning break I've ever seen. He's almost done, and lowering back down, and we're ready for climber number 14. Interesting to see how she gets on. It's Laura Rigora.
Yeah, she had a kind of a tragic mistake during the Youth World Championships during the final in the sport climbing, which is really her strongest, I would say, discipline, but she also won the bouldering, so hard to say. But she kind of got to a position where she couldn't clip and ended up wasting a lot of energy and probably falling short of her potential, which was a little, I'm sure, disappointing for her.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch. We had the Youth World Championships in Moscow. All the replays, of course, available on the IFSC YouTube page, but as you said, Laura got herself in a position on the lead route where she couldn't clip, and then she went too far to clip and she had to reverse, and she still couldn't get a hand free, and it was tough to watch because, as you rightly say, lead really her strongest discipline, but she then won the bouldering, so not all bad.
Yeah, definitely, and she ended up 6th, I think, as well, still in the lead. Probably 2nd in the overall as well. I don't think they gave out medals for it. But
no, we didn't have recognised overall rankings, but Laura was right up there, and here she is. Team Italy sporting a new multicoloured outfit, the blue, green, red and white. Very fetching. And trying to stay warm until the last possible second, wearing a jumper until she absolutely has to. You have to be careful on the stage here in Innsbruck. It would be quite easy to actually walk off it backwards.
Straight off, yeah.
It's a relatively small stage. It might not look it, but the top of the wall actually comes out further than the stage. So when you're looking up right at the top, it would be quite easy to actually walk backwards off the stage. You just have to be careful. Laura Rigora underway on the newly cleaned route here in the Olympia World.
Yeah, Laura's extremely talented. I think she's been climbing really hard, especially outdoors, since she was quite young as well. I'm not sure exactly the details, but I know I've heard her name for quite a while.
Yeah, a lot of people, myself included, were looking forward to seeing her in the World Cup. She made the final in her first ever World Cup.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive.
It's not a bad start. Yeah.
She is really small, though, and this route has a lot of big moves, so I'm hoping that doesn't trip her up at all.
Yeah, she is, even by the standards of female lead climbers, particularly short and slight, but you often wouldn't know it to watch her climb. As you say, she doesn't seem to be in any way held back by being short.
Yeah, definitely. I watched the whole female Youth A bouldering final, and every boulder I was like, oh man, that might be difficult, like, because she's so much shorter, but every single one she just crushed it, so.
That was a great championships in Moscow. As I say, go onto the IFSC YouTube page, you'll be able to find all the replays.
So far, she's looking really comfortable through the beginning of this climb, though.
She's on the section where it really begins to kick in now. This section designed pretty much to just make you tired, to take some energy out of you, particularly if you climb it inefficiently.
Yeah, not a section with particularly difficult moves that we wanted people to like fall on. That's up higher.
With a lead route with 50 or so holes, the route setters can have different sections with different purposes, and they've said that this section, as I say, is really just to get you tired. They don't really expect anyone necessarily to fall here. It's just to take a bit out of you before the harder moves that are coming up. So now she's got this big move up with the left hand. Needs to commit fully. You can see her lining it up. No problem at all.
No problem. I was wondering if she was going to do the same method that we saw Elaine do with the high left foot onto the big pinch hold Snickers bar.
Snickers bar, exactly.
But she didn't need to.
Looks like she's wanting to climb pretty quickly here, Laura Rigora. She's over halfway in terms of hold. She's around the hole 30 mark, and more than half the time remaining. Yeah, 3 minutes 10 seconds still left on the clock, so going very quickly, and I wonder if there's a temptation to take a rest. I think the crowd are hoping that she does the method that involves turning to face them. She almost did. She
Almost
teased the
did.
crowd.
Yeah, that was a different method than we've seen other people do as well. She looked briefly kind of uncomfortable, but she figured it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, seemed very keen not to completely cut her feet loose.
And she didn't really want to lose the foot, that's for sure. That's, I think, something that's interesting seeing a lot of the boulderers, you know, take on sport climbing, you know, competitions now, is they're not really afraid to do those moves, you know, the foot cuts, the jumps. And I think we've seen a lot more dynos this year in the World Cups than we've seen other years. Both of my qualifying routes this year here at the World Championships had dynamic moves.
Yeah, it does. There has been a shift in style for sure. Some climbers it suits and some it doesn't. That's why we're getting slightly different climbers into some of the finals in 2018. The same's happened in bouldering over the last few years, change in style, and again, it suited some climbers more than it suited others.
You know, something else interesting about lead climbers is you'll see them switching up how they grip the holds. It's either 3 or 4 fingers, and sometimes with 3 fingers you can rest like some certain muscles in your forearms that you wouldn't be able to rest if you were using 4. And I've heard people talk about how they like plan it out and rest with 3 fingers or back 3 fingers and front 3 fingers, which I've never even thought about doing, but maybe something I should try and.
You've got all this to look forward to as you do more and more lead climbing.
Exactly.
So Laura now pulling her weight, heading up towards that head wall, a bit like Catherine Cheung, I think, just needed to get her arm free of the rope. She's beginning to look pumped, needs to keep fighting. That's hole 39.
And she's already got the next big move.
Yeah, she's onto the big yellow volume, the last big yellow volume. If she can get clear of it and then onto the yellow volcano above, she will match Mia Cramble's high point of hold 45.
Wow.
That's
She made
hole
that
43.
Look
And then,
really good.
yeah, hole 44 is this crimp out to the left that she's going for.
She's going to need to clip this clip before she does the next move.
Oh, we don't want a repeat of the Youth World Championships, and I think that thought occurred to her simultaneously. She's got herself onto hole 44, and she looks like she's just managing to get a bit of energy back, but this is a big move, this slap up with the right hand, and we lose her.
I would probably
Just
not
heading up there.
get control for that. Yeah, it'd be a 44 plus, probably.
Yeah, you have to control the hold in order to be awarded it, and she got a pretty solid hand on it, but I don't know if she'd be able to claim that there was any stage at which she was really controlling it. She's lowered almost onto the lap of Cécile Havasu there on the front row of the crowd. Got to make her way back over the barrier and back up onto the stage. I think that'll be a 44 plus. Let's see if we can get a replay at some stage. We'll get another look at it, but it's either going to be a 44 plus or a 45.
Yeah, she stuck it for just a moment, but it looked like her hand was just a little bit short of the like red like foothold that's in there to make that hold slightly better. And so hit the bad part of the hold basically and couldn't quite hold it.
This is a bit lower down. This is on the cross through where she just got her hand stuck, and that's hold 43. That's the one we saw a lot of climbers popping up for that one and dropping it. We saw a series of climbers. That's a 42 plus move. So Petra Clinger, Ellen Janitko and Sophie Collet all struggled with that move. No problems for Laura Agora. Mihona Naka now. We've been talking about contenders for a place in that top 6 shootout next Sunday. Mihona Naka, you'd have to say, one of the favorites to make it through.
Definitely already won the overall Bouldering World Cup title and then also has already made a lead World Cup final this year and got 6th, I think it said.
Yes, 6th in Vila. First World Cup of the year. You might remember the qualifying day for Vila was awful.
That's right. It was
lashing
misty.
sideways rain. We got an amazing shot. We were up on one of the camera towers filming, and we got an amazing shot of Mihona Naka kind of appearing through the gloom at the top of the wall. It was an awful day. The next day, the semi-final and the final was lovely though, and yeah, as you say, Mihona Naka got 6th place there. Feels a long time ago at the start of the league climbing season. Hard to believe it was actually only 2 months ago.
Yeah, I took the time during lead season this year to go to the Rocklands and climb outside a bit. But
nice work if you can get it.
yeah, always missing competitions though. Don't like to. think we'll see a lot more people doing all the World Cups next year, the whole bouldering circuit and probably the whole lead circuit.
Just to let you know, Laura Agora has been awarded a 44 plus. If you're not following the scores online at the IFSC website or the app or the Innsbruck 2018 app, she has been given a 44 plus. She wasn't awarded hold 45. I thought I'd actually pull up the rules so I could read it out. The reason she wasn't awarded hold 45, a hold should be considered as controlled, in inverted commas, where a competitor has made use of the hold to achieve a stable or controlled position. I think it'd be hard to argue she was in a stable or controlled position.
So the thing that I've heard too on how they judge it is stopping your momentum. You know, so like say you jump out to something and you hold it, and you can hold it, say, for 2 seconds. Cause it used to be like if you hold something for 2 seconds, then it counts as control. At least that's how we did it in the US. I'm not so sure about IFSC comps, but on a jumps, like sometimes you hold it for 2 seconds and then you fall off, and so controlling the momentum and swinging back into the wall and still holding it is kind of part of it.
Here's Miho Nanaka. She had no problems, as you might imagine, from such a strong boulder with that pop-up with the left hand. Now it's beginning to head out right. We've had a few questions actually about the tape that she wears on her arms in the past few months. It's not tattoos, it is tape. Tattoos are relatively frowned upon in Japanese society, particularly on visual or commonly visual parts of the body.
Yeah, you really don't see them that often there. And I know if you go into like the onsens, the Japanese spas, they often make you cover them up.
So they're not tattoos on Miho's arms, they are sponsored tape. She's looking
really composed.
Very composed, yeah. It's not really looked too fussed by any of the moves so far, really having to work a bit harder now. Efficiency seems to be the key to this section here. Don't get your arm caught under the rope. Make sure you go over the top of it with the right hand now instead of underneath. And just looking, Miho choosing to chalk up.
Looked like she's kind of found her composure again there. And this is going to be, you know, kind of a more bouldery move right now, which could benefit her.
Yeah, I think a lot of neutrals would like to see her in the final. We want the biggest names in climbing in the final. Whether that will be enough, I'm not sure. That's going to be about a 40 plus for Miho Nanaka. That's going to leave her somewhere in the realm of 6th. And given the caliber of climbers still to come, wouldn't have thought that would be enough for a place in the final, but Miho Nanaka, but some very handy ranking points in the overall standings towards hopefully getting her into that combined final a week tomorrow.
Yeah, and going back to my answer to your question about, you know, subtleties between bouldering and sport climbing, like we really didn't see her take too much of a rest right here. So I wonder if she's kind of like me in that, you know, can't kind of more is go instead of, you know, rest and recover.
This was where Miho's attempt ended. She was going up with the left hand. I think she just missed the tiny screw on jib there.
Looks like she missed it.
Maybe a centimetre to the left. It's tiny details on a lead route. We said it earlier. The thing with these lead routes is you just can't make tiny mistakes. It's one shot. Could be over. And you see there, Mia Krapenball still leading the way. Laura Agora, 44 plus. Strong fight to get there. Mia Krampel definitely looked to me like she had a bit left, and I would be surprised if that isn't enough for a place in the final. Second Japanese climber in a row. It's Mei Kotaki, a bit like Laura Agora. Very, very short climber. It doesn't let it hold her back. Already a finalist this year in the lead and the bouldering. 5th place in the Chamonix Lead World Cup on the 2nd weekend of July.
Yeah, another really good all-around climber.
It's something I always seem to talk about, taller and smaller climbers. Someone actually emailed me and said, Charlie, every time I watch the IFSC, you're talking about taller and smaller climbers, and here's my thoughts on the subject. Not, I don't think, being argumentative, but yeah, giving his opinion, and we swapped an email or two. It's quite fun, actually.
Yeah.
Discussing the physiological differences and how it might even itself out.
Yeah, the thing is that it definitely does, make a difference in climbing is the height of climbers. We saw yesterday. I mean, I think he kind of got tripped up as well, but we lost Ramone really strong lead climber, low down on one of the climbs, just because it was a little bit spanned, and I think he didn't quite.
He really didn't like the look of that jump.
No. And that's kind of what I've always thought is a reason why we don't have, kind of a combined male and female category, is just the physiological differences between the two. Like, usually men are taller, and it would make it difficult to set really hard, like, a route that is fair, or boulder, for that matter.
It's been good this season. We've had Katja Vidmar setting. She set in Tokyo, she set in Moscow. Of course, a very successful competition climber herself, but we want more female route setters at the IFSC. But it's been really good seeing Katja, and that input of the subtle differences between how men and women climb. I think it's been really useful. The setting teams have reported whenever Katja's been helping them out. Taki's not a climber that gives much away. You can never really tell when she's trying hard or not.
No, she's looking calm right now, though, which is what you want after this bottom section, I guess.
That big slap up with the left hand to that yellow volcano, it's going to be a pretty committed move for someone of May's height. It didn't trouble Laura Agora, but it's just something worth keeping an eye on.
It definitely did for a moment. You could see it, like, in her body language when she went for it. But then as soon as she decided to go for it, I guess, is when, like, you knew she was fine.
Here goes May, and the feet cut loose, but she'd obviously really hit the sweet spot of that volume and was able to let the feet go before bringing them back in, and now she'll head out right.
That's, I think, something that's important with smaller climbers, is you can't let that get into your head, like, oh, this is a big move. Like, I have to, like, it's going to be hard for me. You have to just know that you have to try hard on that move,
Yeah, and you mentioned Ramone earlier on, and far be it from me to tell a double world champion how to climb, but you can kind of see sometimes with Ramone being a smaller climber, he looks up at a move and you can see the doubt, and you just can't afford that. May Kotaki went full commitment with that left hand.
Now, that full commitment is something I think, she's a really strong boulderer as well, which definitely helps with that.
Interesting feature, actually, of this World Championship. We've seen quite a few holds and brands of holds that are new to the climbers as well. So May Kotaki may not know all these volumes so well. So when she commits, it's 100% commitment. You might not be entirely sure where the sweet spot is.
Yeah, a lot of these yellow holds are from an American company, actually, and I don't think they're quite as popular, especially at the World Cups. So many of these climbers probably haven't touched any of these yellow holds ever before, and they're not super obvious what they're going to feel like.
May looking very, very solid so far, up to hold 40, now 41. You can see the high point set by Mia Krampel. Petra Clinger still hanging on there in the third place.
And May just clipped from the same spot we saw Mia clip from, and that was because she looked really comfortable there, so she definitely could be getting a new high point, possibly.
We're getting live scores here in Innsbruck, and that's May Kotaki into second, or about to be second place if she can slap up and latch this.
Oh.
She can't quite. It's the same move that we lost Laura Agora on the 44 plus. That's a very handy looking score from her. Currently got a four-way tie in 8th place.
Looking really happy with that result too.
Yeah, looking very happy with that indeed. Got a four-way tie at 39 plus, and now a two-way tie in second place. May Kotaki and Laura Agora both given 44 plus. So route setters, it would seem, have got the level about right on the route. We've got scores ranging from 26 plus to 45 on a 51 hold route. And
10 climbers left?
Yeah, 10 climbers still to go. Lučka Rakovec out next, the penultimate Slovenian. And then the last Slovenian to climb will be the last climber out, Janja Garmra, in the very familiar position of climbing last in the semi-final.
Yeah, the other thing that you were talking earlier about, like whether or not I like climbing first or last, and when it's an indoor venue, it doesn't matter quite as much. But when it's an outdoor venue, sometimes the weather can change so much between when the first climber climbs and when the last climber climbs, especially when there's 26 people. Then kind of climbing earlier when it's colder is almost usually an advantage as well.
I think indoors you probably get a bit of evolution of conditions as well, because the huge arena lights have been on the wall longer. There's more crowd. I mean, the venue's been filling up increasingly pretty much since we arrived. There's been people kind of streaming through the door more. The temperature, I think, does begin to rise in the arena as the day goes by. Certainly as the semi-final goes by, and as I say, there's big powerful lights on the wall. Yeah, agreed. There certainly is not as much evolution of conditions as you might get outdoors. You can see there, as it stands, we've got a big tie. We'd have 11 women through to the final. If it stayed like that, you can see the red on the graphic on the left, signifying those who would qualify for the final. If it stayed like this, you'd be fairly confident that, sadly, those 8 people tied in 8th place, Manon Elie Solsar, Katja Kiprianova and Catherine Cheung, are not going to have done enough to make it through to the final. But as it stands, there would be a tie. We would have 11 finalists. No count back, of course, because we had 2 qualifying groups yesterday, so we can't count back to the previous round.
Yeah, Luchka had a really good Youth World Championships as well.
Yes.
Super strong performance, I believe, in both lead and bouldering.
Yeah, Team Slovenia had a really good Youth World Championships, and Luchka Rakovic, absolutely one of those climbers who did well. Second in Moscow. Luchka Rakovic, fresh from winning the European Youth Championships in Brussels. I think it was last weekend.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a lot of competition ahead of them right now. Going straight from the Youth World Championships into the European Championships or European Cup.
Interestingly, Ashima Shariashi and Yanni Garmrit chose not to go to Moscow. I wonder if we'll see that more in the future, that climbers that really have ambitions in the senior events, even if they're youth qualified, might just choose not to go just to get a break.
Yeah, I completely forgot that Yanya was even still eligible for the youth competition. She just does so well in the adult competitions, But yeah, I know Ashima decided not to go. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, probably something along the lines of needing a break, and she also had a shoulder injury earlier this year, and probably wanted to focus on the World Championships instead of or the Adult World Championships.
Yeah, I don't think the lead season went quite as well for Ashima as she might have been hoping. I saw her outside the venue this morning actually, and she was very polite, but made it pretty clear she didn't want to chat and wanted to get straight into isolation, so I didn't have much of a chance to chat to her.
I think her best placement this year is 4th.
Yeah. We shall see.
Yeah.
Certainly a climber.
Really
a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how she gets on.
She looked really good in the qualifiers 2 days ago. Topped one of the routes and came off close to the top on the other one. Luchka is making this section look pretty easy. Still has 2 minutes and 42 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, the cameraman who was standing in front of our clock is now moved handily enough, so she's got to, as you say, still with 2.5 minutes to go. And she's looking very, very controlled. Didn't struggle at all with that span out.
Yeah, she made that cross-under move and follow-through look really good, really fluid.
Just slightly jerky with that move up with the right hand. I think she's getting tired now. Trying to find a way off this yellow volume and onto the blue banana. There it is. That's hold number 33. So then it's 44 is the crimp out to the left. And then she'll go up to the volcano, hopefully. Now, if she can latch that, she'll tie with Mia Krampel on 45. If she can't latch it, but she manages to slap for it, she'll tie with Laura Agora and Meiko Taki on 44 plus. She goes up with the left hand, and she does stay there. So that is going to be a tie with Mia Krampel, and now it's a new high point.
And so in this section, you're going to have to swing your feet or campus, was what we heard from Jan. And She went for the swing your feet option.
Lucka Rakovic sets a new high point right now. It's Slovenia 1 and 2, and no wonder their coaching team looks so happy.
And we still only have another, I think, 9 climbers left to go.
Just something being explained to Lucka Rakovic here. Johannes Altner, the IFSC judge, as soon as she came down, wanted to explain something to her, and I'm just looking down at the front of the stage, he's still talking to her. And, I didn't see anything to potentially cause any problems. Let's have a look. So that was where the new high point was set. She was the first climber to touch that hold number 46. It's also hold 47 if you can get the left hand to join the right.
Yeah, and something interesting about that, the move up to the big yellow volcano, is that, you know, Laura and May both tried to go right hand.
Yeah.
And I think that probably is a height difference thing. Is, you know, if you can go left hand, that's definitely the hand that you want to get there. But they looked a little bit too spanned, kind of, to do the left hand move and so they went for right hand instead.
So Molly Thompson-Smith is now on the stage. Also ran into Molly on the street outside the arena, and she was happy to chat, very happy to be here. Had a pretty devastating finger injury. It was to the left ring finger, fourth finger on her left hand. Had surgery, she told me this morning, I think it's the 9th of January? It was January.
She fully ruptured 3 pulleys in one finger, which is...
I mean, that must have been horrifically painful, not to mention a devastating injury for your athletic performance.
Yeah, I think with that surgery, they kind of take, I think, tendon from like somewhere else, so from your wrist, and use that to kind of replace the pulleys. And so then you both have now a wrist injury and a finger injury that are both healing. Yeah,
it's a pretty gruesome procedure. They have a thing that looks like it's made for shaving doner kebabs. And they kind of shave a bit of muscle off, and it's really not very nice. But Molly Thompson-Smith, it's quite funny. She said a lot of people have been saying to her, "Oh, it's so good to see you climbing." They're just happy to see her back on the wall. But I think she's quietly confident. She said, particularly since Munich, training's been going really well, and obviously not back to the level of fitness she would have had before the injury, but all things considered, considering that on the 9th of January she was on the surgeon's table with bits of her wrist being cut out and put into her hand, pretty intrusive hand surgery. Things are going very well, particularly recently, and I would not bet against a big performance today.
No, definitely not. She's been climbing at the Kletterzentrum here in Innsbruck for the last few months, I believe, and definitely fully whipped herself back into shape after that surgery and has been looking really good. I saw her, just lapping routes at the gym like pretty easily and making them look really good. And I think she's really just happy to be back on the wall, and back in the competition. This is her first competition since the injury as well. So.
It's a feel-good story having her back. As I say, it's that left hand. She didn't struggle at all with the slap up. It's not a particularly finger-intensive move, that slap up to the yellow hole, but didn't struggle with it.
Yeah, she's been looking really smooth so far.
You can't help but thinking also psychologically it's got to have an effect, on a move like that, or moves where you're really cranking on that left hand. But she didn't seem bothered by it at all a couple of days ago in the qualifiers, and doesn't seem at all bothered by it here in the semi-final.
She really smoothly executed that 360 move facing the audience.
Yeah, to the point where the audience didn't really cheer. It looked so smooth. It wasn't that spectacular.
She's really strong on one arms, and I've seen her easily do a one arm pull up, so it makes sense that she didn't struggle at all with that campus move.
British team coming to life now. You might be able to hear them. They're just below us, the athletes. We're up in a gantry here in the Innsbruck arena, and they're beginning to get more behind Molly as she gets higher and higher on the route. She's got half her time remaining, 2 minutes 55 now. Of course, each climber has a total of 6 minutes.
Looks like she has her arm under the rope, as we saw a few other climbers do, but she's fixed it already.
Yeah, quickly shifted it. As I said with Catherine Chung, it basically adds an extra move. But Molly did it very quickly and efficiently. And still looking pretty steady here. Hasn't really shown any sign of fatigue. Hasn't slapped for any of the holds. This is a super strong performance from Molly Thompson-Smith so far. And that's her up in the whole 41-42 region.
She just went back down to that right hand to rest her left a sec. Which is not something we've seen a whole lot of the climbers do.
I think, look at the scores. You probably need to move off this hold to stand a chance and make it to the final. And Molly moved off it, but wasn't able to reach hold 44. I think that'll be a 43 plus for her. That'll put a 43 she's been given. May end up being a plus if they have another look at it, but puts her into 5th place as it stands.
Yeah,
Could
that
be
was
touch and go.
Very strong performance by Molly. You know, like, I think, you know, one of the scariest things with coming back from finger injury, too, is, you know, when you grab something with not all 4 of your fingers, and she just grabbed that one with her 2 middle fingers, which didn't seem to deter her at all, but it was, you know, it's impressive how far you can come, yeah, in a few months.
So this is where we lost her. She was, oh no, possibly not a plus.
Yeah, so the thing with a plus is that you have to, I believe, move towards the next hold, and you saw her body fall out from the wall before she actually started moving to the left. Yeah, if she had just been able to get her other couple fingers on there, I bet she would have been pretty set on that next move.
And there we see it. Lučka Rakovic still leading the way. Slovenia 1 and 2. You wouldn't bet against it. Ending up Slovenia 1, 2 and 3 now, would you, with Janja Garnbret still to come. So first of 2 Austrians in a row. Christine Schranz. They've still got 3 climbers, including Christine, to climb on the wall. Hannah Schubert still to come, and Jessie Pilt still to come as well. Christine Schranz, as you can see there, 7th in the qualifiers yesterday. One of the older competitors at 30 years old.
Yeah, she looked really strong during the qualifiers 2 days ago.
Yeah, and looked really strong, as you can see there, on the season best, 8th place in Arco. Really strong in the last Lead World Cup of the year, which was the last weekend of July in Arco on the shores of Lake Garda.
Yeah, I think she even went in 4th place and then just had a pretty devastating slip low down on the route, which made her end in 8th. So
yeah, didn't really
even reach her full potential possibly on that climb.
Yeah, didn't really get the chance to show what she can do. She's got another chance here in her home country in Innsbruck, and as you might expect, the Austrian crowd really getting behind her now.
Yeah, I think what you get in extra pressure for competing in front of your home crowd, it makes up for it with the excitement. You know, it's a pretty exciting feel here in the stadium with the Austrians climbing.
If you're just joining us, good afternoon. Welcome to Innsbruck on this fine Saturday afternoon. Charlie Bosco and Kyra Condy here live from the Olympia World. Hashtag IFSC WCH if you want to get in touch on Twitter. We're really getting into the sharp end of this semi-final. Christine Schranz, the 8th to last climber out. So after her, we will actually know our first confirmed finalist.
That's true.
If this is your first time watching a lead climber, we've been talking a couple of times about pluses and scores awarded. Again, I've got the rule up. In terms of getting a plus, a hold from which a competitor has made a controlled climbing movement in the interest of progressing along the route shall be considered as used. The score of a competitor using a hold shall be the number assigned to that hold on the route sketch with a plus suffix. So in other words, you have to make a controlled climbing movement in the interest of progressing along the route, which I suspect, just thinking about Molly Thompson-Smith, probably wasn't the case. She's been, as it stands, been awarded a 43 and a brilliant performance considering where she was at the start of 2018.
Yeah, I'm sure she's probably happy with it. You know, she was really just excited to compete again, you know, and see everybody and get back on the wall from what I said. But I'm sure as well she, you know, wanted to do well, and she climbed really amazingly. So.
Yeah, so she's into 4th, excuse me, Molly Thompson-Smith. as Christine Schranz lines it up, one of the taller climbers, so this jump shouldn't look quite as far to her as it might have done to some of the other climbers. As it stands, the top 8 is Mia Krampel, Meika Taki, Laura Gora, Mori Thompson-Smith, Petra Clinger, Ellen Jenico, Anne-Sophie Koller and Miho Nunaka. As I said, after Christine Schranz, we'll have less than 8 climbs remaining, so the top-ranked climber after Christine will know that they are through to the final. Just wondering where the score for Luchka's gone.
We did see the IFSC official talking to her, so hopefully that doesn't mean that there was an issue at the bottom of the route. But
yeah, the Johannes Altner, the IFSC judge, wanted to speak to her immediately, so we'll see. We have no more information than you do. We saw earlier on Petra Klingler's score disappear, then come back slightly adjusted. For now, it's Christine Schranz. Turns to face the crowd. That's how the route setters want it done. Very smooth from Christine.
And she did even a little differently than we've seen other people do it. You know, it's kind of an interesting section. It's had a lot of different methods that work.
Fighting up now. Didn't take much of a rest at all. Doesn't look like she needs it, to be honest, at this stage. Christine Schranz looking in control. And with plenty of energy left in the tank. That's hold at 37.
She's approaching the difficult section with the blue holds right above this.
Now, just to let you know, Luchka Rakovic, her score is coming up as 46. It's now coming up on our screen as 38. So we'll try and find out what that's all about. In the meantime, let's watch Christine Schranz in front of her home crowd, trying to find a way up onto that blue banana and then hopefully onwards and upwards from there. Crowd enjoying this. Slaps up with the left hand and comes up just short. 43 or 43 plus, depending on how the judges viewed that one, as Marcus Scherer.
It'll definitely help her to have latched on to that crimp on that big blue banana hold, because that's where a lot of people fell, and that puts you ahead of that bottleneck. There we go. Forgot the word for a second.
Yeah, Luchka Rakovic, although on the screen you guys are watching and we're watching, her score of 46 was still up. On these scores that I'm getting on the IFSC website, it's 38 for Luchka. So
the thing that I could think of is 38 is right before you go up for that big.
38 is just before you pull onto the crimp with the left hand on the head wall.
So I don't even see a bolt hanger that she could have used or something as a foot, which is the most common thing that you see a lead climbing score change for.
Yeah, there's nothing, looking up at the wall, there's nothing obvious. She has definitely been bumped down the order though, and as I say, the judge wanted to speak to her immediately when she got down. As it stands, Mia Krampel, Meika Taki, Laura Agora, Christine Schranz, Molly Thompson-Smith, Petra Klingler, Ellen Jenico and Anne-Sophie Koller. The top 8, Miho Nunaka, is going to miss out, and Mia Krampel is going to qualify. Here comes Hannah Schubert, the Innsbruck local. She lives just outside Innsbruck city centre. Could have walked to the arena in about 20 minutes today. You can't get much closer to home than this.
You know, I always wonder if that's a little weird, you know, like having the World Championships in your hometown. It's definitely exciting, but you know, like staying at home for an event instead of, you know, with your team at a hotel or at an Airbnb or, you know,
I think
it's just an interesting feel. It's different.
I think there's something in that. Yeah, you when you're away, you're clearly there for a reason. You're at a competition.
Yeah, you go through the process.
Yeah, you're staying in a new hotel, an unfamiliar bed, eating unfamiliar food, and you can get dialed down into the reason you're there. And when it's in your hometown, are there more distractions? Is it harder to remember that there's business to attend to?
Yeah, there's like yeah, definitely benefits, and there's definitely like kind of drawbacks. You don't stay with your team. You don't kind of have that feel of going somewhere and having something to do, you know? So.
Yeah, I think it's
Interesting
probably
thought.
it is. It's probably quite a subtle thing, but I live in Innsbruck as well, and when we fly to China, you get off the plane, you get checked into the hotel, you sleep the night, you wake up the next day, and it's work time. And certainly, I find that there's quite a strange disconnect, and all I've got to come and do is watch and be a fan and talk as eloquently as I can muster about it. I've got the easy job, but there is definitely a different feel. And it'd be interesting to see how Hannah gets on. We saw her brother Jakob Schubert come quite close to not qualifying for the semi-final after he fell low down on one of the qualifying routes yesterday. Luckily, he'd done more than enough on the other one. But
yeah, luckily, yeah, I think that first place rank on one of the climbs that really benefits you.
Yeah, really got him through. Hannah's a pretty light-hearted, bubbly character at all times, so we'll see. See how she gets on, but it's
yeah, I'm sure she's mostly excited here just to climb in front of her home crowd and you know, try and show her best. She's looking really on form right now. She's looking really strong. So
yeah, she's looked strong all season, all through the winter. Anytime I was at the Innsbruck Kletterzentrum, generally you would see Hannah there training away. I think training's gone really well. She's put in a really solid body of work over the winter, and although she wants to succeed in the World Cups, it's all about this really. A World Championships, not only in your home country, in your hometown, is the reward for all that hard work. She was very excited about the World Championships, and she's going well so far in the semi-final. It's definitely being made to work for a couple of these moves.
Yeah, there was a couple moves even low down that she definitely, you know, went kind of maybe a little like too hard for. Like didn't find the best body position that she could have found, but you know, her endurance is so good that I bet she'll be able to rest on this rest that's coming up and get a lot back.
Of course, one of the dangers of having a relatively steady start to a route is you almost overclimb it.
Yeah, you kind of expect it to be difficult, and then you kind of every move you wonder if, oh, is this going to be like a crux?
Yeah, you kind of overdo it almost. And there's no doubt that the first 25 moves on this route are, by the World Cup standards, pretty straightforward. Still apparently would be around the 7C mark up to mid-height, so it's no pushover.
You can hear the music in the stadium picking up right now too.
Alf Gates says that says the venue MC, Hannah Schubert, looks like she wants to get on with this. 2 minutes 15 left on the clock, so she's got time to really do every move left on this route. Has she got the energy? Has she got the method? Thought about taking another short rest, but chose instead to get on with things. As it stands, somewhere around the 44 plus 45 area would almost certainly be enough to get her through into the final. She's got quite a long way to go before she's at that stage, though, heading up onto hole 38, beginning to shake out more and more.
She's one of those climbers who's really good at fighting through a pump, though, as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see her, you know, reaching the same section as, you know, we've seen Laura and Mia get to.
So Lučka Raković's high point of 46 has been downgraded to a 38. I think she might have touched one of the bolt hangers, perhaps with her left knee when she was going up towards hole 39.
That's what I was thinking as well, actually.
Either way, Hannah Schubert has the opportunity to set a new high point. She needs to get up to hole 43, which is this blue banana. She's latched out, but she's really beginning to fight now. Needs to get the clip done. Not the most comfortable position to clip from.
Managed to get it done really fast.
But she managed to get it done. If she can get onto this next hole and stay there, which she can't quite.
It looked like she missed that little red jib that was in the middle. She kind of, her whole left hand was completely to the right of it. So
yeah, I was about to say, if she managed to stick onto that hole, that would have put her in joint first place and would have been enough to guarantee her a place in the final. As it is, she's going to be awarded, I'm 99% sure she'll be awarded a 44 plus. I don't think she could claim control of that hold. And that will put her in a tie with May Kotaki and Laura Gorin. Yes, she has been awarded a 44 plus. So tied for second place. It's going to be very tight.
There's 6 more people to go.
So that is enough for the
So
final.
that should be enough, yeah. I wonder if we'll...
Could well end up with 10 or more
10 or more
finalists here,
finalists,
because we've
yeah.
got a tie in second place. If the remaining 6 climbers can either match or surpass that, then we are going to potentially have a bigger final than we might like. You go through the ringer as a coach. And there we see it make Taki Lauragora and Hannah Schubert tied for second place behind Mia Krampel, who is in first place as it stands. Christine Strantz, Holly Thompson-Smith, Petra Clinger and Ellen Janico. The top 8.
6 more people to go.
Here is Akio Noguchi, 4 times the Boulder World Cup overall champion and 5 times the runner-up. An incredible career, and already a couple of finals in the lead as well this season.
All the way back in 2005 was when her best world championship ranking was.
It's just staggering, Akio Noguchi, the longevity.
She's been on top of the game for so long. It's super impressive.
Yeah, she was 3rd in the World Championships in 2005 behind Emily Harrington and Angie Aito, and Angie won the first of her 4 World Championships.
Actually, didn't know that Emily Harrington had won a silver.
Yeah, Emily Harrington since gone on to climb Mount Everest. Akio's just still cranking away at the very top end of the IFSC scale.
There's been some interesting music choices playing in the stadium today too.
Akio now launching up and left. Just to let you know, I've just been sent confirmation about Lučka Rakovic, unofficial confirmation, I might add. Malek, one of the Team Canadian coaches, just sent me a WhatsApp message, thanks Malek, with a picture of Lučka Rakovic standing on one of the bolts. So that was the problem. I thought she might have actually just touched with her left knee one of the bolts, but she actually stood on one. So that's why she's been downgraded. As I say, it's very much unofficial confirmation, but judging by the picture I've just been sent on WhatsApp, that looks pretty conclusive, and that would concur with her score of 38.
Yeah, that's one of the bummers about having, you kind of have to have the bolts on the wall, but sometimes your foot just kind of slides onto something and you don't even mean to, and you feel it on something and don't think about it because you just expect that it's a hold. And that's, I think, what has happened to a lot of climbers, over many years, is that they just don't even think about it and think it's on a hold, and then it's actually a bolt hanger.
So let's get back to Akio. Poor old Lučka Rakovic, that is a real shame, climbed exceptionally well and set a high point, which would still stand. She would have done enough.
She'd still be in the high point, yeah.
Yeah, she'd have done enough for the final as it is. She's going to miss out, but from the picture I've just been sent, there's not much arguing. She's definitely standing on the bolt. Actually, it's the bolt that, the last quick draw that Akio's got clipped. That's the bolt that she was standing on. She stood on it with her right hand as she went up towards hole 39. So, what can Akio do? Already, as we said, a bronze medal in a World Championship lead, 4 times Boulder World Cup champion, legend of the game, the greatest female competition boulder of all time. She'd be right up there.
Yeah, she's definitely up there for sure. She also has quite a lot of time left right now. She's not even reached the 3-minute mark.
No,
she's really nearing the top at the moment. You can hear the Japanese team cheering her on, Gamba. She's looking really, really solid.
Looking very composed, the seemingly ageless Akio Noguchi. I think heading up towards hole 43, I think really beginning to have to fight now.
Pumped.
Yeah, got that hole 44 now. If she can
Regained her composure there.
yeah, if she can latch hole 44 and move off it, she'll book herself a place in the final. Goes up with the left hand, and again we lose her just going up on that 44 plus move. That's going to put her into joint second place.
Along with
Kyonaguchi.
Meg Taka and
Hannah
also
Schubert
Hannah
and
Schubert
Laura Rigora.
and Laura Rigora.
Yeah. I just had official confirmation, by the way, from the IFSC judge about Luchka Rakovic. It was standing on that vault on the 38 move, so had unofficial confirmation, now got official confirmation. That was the problem, and Akio Noguchi's score has just flashed up, and it is a 44 plus for her. So we've got a four-way tie. This is what the route setters really don't want, because they want 8 people through to the final, and I have to say, I think we're going to get more than 8 through to the final.
Yeah, I think that seems like a possibility. I was trying to do some math, and
Seems highly likely.
yeah.
Ashima next to climb. What do you say about Ashima? She's a climber you know pretty well.
Yeah, we've competed at a lot of the same competitions in the U.S. and she's such a sweetheart. I always want her to do really well because she is clearly just really strong, and I really like when the climbers who are like strongest, do the best. That's kind of how I like things to go. Some people enjoy seeing upsets, and I just see the work that people have put in behind it, and like to see them do well, So, yeah, Shima's definitely kind of a favorite here. She's really good.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that. I like it when someone is amazing and you just think, how good can they get? How far can they go with this? Shima never actually won a Senior World Cup. Unbeaten still in Youth World Championships, although it should be added. She didn't compete in all the ones she was eligible for, including Moscow this year.
She just did a risky move down low, actually, right there. You've seen a couple of the other girls kind of eye up that jump, and then nobody else did it. They found a higher foot and used that instead. But she just went for it, and it worked out, so.
Jesse Pilts and Janja Garnbret still to come at heavyweight final 4. Here comes Ashima, born to Japanese parents but grew up in New York City.
Well, that was a casual way of doing that move.
Very casual, yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't seen anybody else do that method. She toe hooked that left hold with her foot and just kind of reached up. Wasn't even a jump.
That's the quick draw that Luchka stood on, by the way. Obviously, she was much higher up than that, but just to let you know which one it was. Such a shame.
Yeah, otherwise would be our leader at the moment.
But rules be rules. We've got them there for a reason.
You know, it's interesting. The last few girls have all done the 360 move. And, you know, I wonder if that just has something to do with, you know, reading the route and doing it exactly how you read it instead of kind of improvising. We were talking earlier about how difficult it is to be so consistent in any of these competitions just because, you know, you only get one shot and then you're off. And, you know, part of that is probably that you know, stick to exactly what you think you're going to do.
There you can see 2:40 left on the clock for Ashima, and plenty of time. I think that's why she might have taken quite such a long rest. She looked down at the clock and seemed to relax. Perhaps slightly relieved to have got there with so much time still to go.
Yeah, to a lot of these climbers, 6 minutes is really not very long to be on the wall.
No, the reduction in the time limit has definitely been better for some climbers than others. But whenever this debate arises, I always say that the rules are the same for everyone. And everyone's got to deal with it. And if it's not your natural style, that's just unfortunate. Ashima seemingly having no problems with the time limit right now. We're about to see a new high point. She's got to find a way to get through these crimps, not burn too much energy getting onto, then exiting this huge yellow volume with the blue crimps, then onto the big blue banana hold.
Yeah, and she actually just clipped from this low spot that we've seen a couple other people clip from, and it seems that when they've clipped from there, they've kind of been in good shape for the top. If you're not too pumped to, you know, use that left hand holding clip, then it's a good chance.
So that's hold 43 she's up to now. Needs to get hold 44
Yeah, come on, Ashima.
and turn this into a plus. Can she make it even better than a plus? Can she get a 45? Yes, she can. So that is matching the high points of Mia Krampel. If she can do another move or even make a good attempt at another move and be given a plus, she's going to go out into the clean lead. She's currently tied for the lead with Mia Krampel. Ashima trying to find some position to chalk up or in some way shift a position. A change is as good as a rest. Can she manufacture a rest? She can't, but she can manufacture a move out to the right, and that's going to be a 45 plus and a first place for Ashima. Josh Larson, the Team USA coach, looking pretty nonplussed with that. It's a slightly understated reaction from young Josh.
Yes, she's definitely moving on to tonight, so I'm sure they're happy.
They're happy inside, yeah. Well, that's the last Team USA climber. Two of them through. Margot Hayes climbed first and Ashima Shirashi's climbed fifth. So last, you can see her there. Really got a good hand on that hole 46, but couldn't convert it.
And 4 more climbers left, who have been some of our most consistent competitors, you could say.
So there we see it. Mia Krampel, Ashima Shirashi, Meika Taki, Akina Gucci, Laura Gora, Hannah Schubert, Christine Schranz, and Molly Thompson-Smith, the top 8 as it stands.
So there is a very good chance that we'll have 10 people in to the final.
Yeah, it's looking increasingly likely that we're going to get more than the normal 8 finalists. Here's Annette Verhoeven, tied for 3rd place in the qualifiers yesterday with Jane Kim.
She won a World Cup in 2017 in Xiamen, in China.
Yeah, also won one in Arco. That was her breakthrough win. She'd been so close so many times.
You know, that kept happening when we were in youth as well. I was in the same category, or like age group as her, and just every year I feel like she was in 1st place and then would end up 2nd in the final. I think she actually ended up winning in Arco Youth Worlds as well. I can't remember.
Yes, I think you could well be right. And definitely a climber that would have preferred the time limit to stay at 8 minutes. I think it would be fair to say. It might be the polite summary of her feelings on the change to 6 minutes.
Definitely, yeah.
But as I said, the change is for everyone. And everyone's competing by the same rules. And if you have to make adjustments to your climbing style, then that's just what you've got to do. Anak just needs to set a good pace. We haven't seen many climbers getting towards the head wall really particularly pushed for time.
Yeah, no, nobody's really been, I think, really under a minute even.
I think Catherine Chung was the closest we've seen to anyone being timed out, but it hasn't generally seemed like a big issue time. Now pulls onto the steepest section of the wall. 5 distinct panels of the wall here in Innsbruck, and she's on the steepest one now. It's consistently overhanging throughout. The lower section might look like a vertical wall, but it certainly isn't.
It's 10 degrees overhanging, I think.
Yes.
That's what we saw on the first graphic.
Yeah.
And then the section she's on right now is more like 54 degrees overhanging. I wonder if she's been training, you know, bouldering and speed climbing as well for the overall.
Yeah, I suspect not. We'll find out. I don't think she's especially interested in that. Anak, she's very much a lead climber. We'll see, I haven't chatted to her actually since she arrived in Innsbruck. Saw her very briefly on the qualifying day, and that was that. And she's got this committed move up with the left hand coming up where we lost Anna Zaykina. No climber actually fallen before that move. 3 minutes 52 on the clock, seems to be measuring the pace pretty well here. Anak, exceptionally strong and consistent climber. Had a 5-year run of not missing a final in an IFSC World Cup. Sadly was broken earlier this year, but still not someone you bet against making at least a podium. Who knows what steps you could end up on.
Yeah, she's been looking really composed through the whole beginning of this route as well.
Second last time in the World Championships in Paris. She was heartbreakingly close to winning it. Just cut loose there and looked like she was slightly worried about getting back on. Had to kind of kick her legs.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
To drive herself back onto the wall, but a pretty minor problem, and it seems like she's on her way again. And opting to take something of a rest, a bit like we saw with Sandra Lettner, choosing to take the slightly higher of the rests, and now drops down to the lower one.
The lower one. That's what I was saying about the when you take the higher up rest, when you kind of perch on top of the volume like this, if you don't go back down, it's harder to rest your left hand because that right hand volcano is kind of right in there, and you can't really relax on it.
Now Anak is underway again, out towards hold 37. The jib on top is number 38. Just needs to be careful. You can see the bolt underneath her right leg that Luchka Rakovets
It's right
stood
there
on.
where she stood on it on that move.
So 45 plus for Ashima Shirashi, currently the high point. Didn't manage to latch that big blue volume. It's just up to the bottom left of the graphic saying crumple. Just having looked down at the clock, 1:30 to go, so I don't think Anak's going to have any troubles with time on this route. She's just set a nice, steady, controlled pace. She is up to hold 43. The next hold out to the left, the crimp, that one is number 44. So if she can turn 44 into 44 plus, she will secure her place in the final.
Yeah, and she's going to be happier if she can go left hand first, which looks like what she's doing.
And she has done. So as her safely through into the final, countback has been so crucial over the past few years, so many times for the women's league climbing, that she'll want the very best performance necessary. Possible, excuse me. She'll go out right now. She can see that big blue volume coming up. Ashima Shirashi went for it and missed it. Anna Verhoeven went for it and latched it. So this is a new high point now from Anna Verhoeven. Somehow needs to free up her left hand. She's going to need to get her feet involved. She does that now. Now she cuts loose. Needs to swing her feet out to the right. She's going to need to commit. And does so.
No, she's looking really strong. And we've heard that this last section
shouldn't cause any problems from here.
Problems, but this is going to be a committing last move, but she's going to want it really bad right now.
This is a big last move. This, for the first top of this semi-final, Anna Verhoeven with 8 seconds to go. Clips the top quick draw, tops the route. What a performance from Anna Verhoeven. Timed it to perfection.
Just saw the clock go to 0.
Yeah, she had maybe 3-4 seconds left. She actually fiddled ever so slightly with that top quick draw. And could have been very costly. She got it clipped, she got the top, she's through to the final.
There's a big screen in between the walls that's just saying top right now.
Let's have another look at it. This was the only bit where you thought she really needs to find something to do with those feet quickly or she's going to get tired. Again, she swung here, and once that right foot landed, you had to be pretty confident. She looked very solid. That was the move where she took the lead.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting talking to the route setter. He said that they thought that the girls would probably try to get their left foot up into the yellow circle, which is exactly what she ended up doing. But that also campusing into the big, like kind of dual texture volume there would also work.
Out comes Jane Kim in just a second onto the wall. You can see there Anna Verhoeven top for her. Looking very, very likely that we're going to have a big final with more climbers than we might have expected. Here comes Jane Kim, the 2014 world champion. Runner-up in 3 world championships in a row, 2009, 2011, and then 2012. Finally got the win in 2014. 25 World Cup wins for her. No wins in 2018. She'd be a popular winner if she could find a way in 2018.
I love watching her climbing style. It's always so like elegant almost.
It's mesmeric, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
We saw Anna Verhoeven demonstrate perfectly the pace required on this route. You suspect Jane Kim likely to do something similar, and I don't think she'll be up there with minutes to spare if she can find a way towards the top of the route.
I wonder if Anik was aware just how close it was. She definitely knew that it was close, but you know how close, I don't know if she knew.
Well, she was on the rest point with over half her time remaining, Anak, and must have climbed. I wasn't really watching the clock at the time, but she must have climbed the top section relatively slowly. Either way, she timed it to perfection, whether it was intentional or not. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She planned every move of it.
I know she usually at least used to wear a watch. I don't think I saw that she was wearing one, but and that she would check as she goes because she had trouble with timing out before.
So a legend of the game on the wall right now, Jane Kim. Can't have a count back to the qualifying round, so if you look at the scores and wondering what's going to happen to that big tie at 44 plus, if that becomes a tie for a bit further down the order, we would just end up with more finalists basically. So we can't count back to the qualifiers, so I think we're probably going to end up with around 10 finalists, more than likely, you would imagine. Already got a tie for 8th place. Christine Schranz and Molly Thompson-Smith. You'd have to say odds on that they will get bumped out. Great performance from both of them. Big respect to Molly Thompson-Smith coming back from such a devastating injury and possibly lucky to top 10, top 12 finish in the World Championships.
That's her first competition back as well. Really impressive.
There's a quick look at Magda Rock. She's struggled with injury herself over the past couple of years, not climbing here in Innsbruck, sadly. Jane Kim is though, and she's got a quite committed move up with the left hand to come here.
She made it look really easy.
She certainly did, yeah.
You know, I wonder if they were aware that any of these, like, you know, you just got a good glimpse of that blue hold that was inset in that yellow hold. I wonder if they could tell that those were there from the ground. I doubt it.
Yeah, the climbers stayed on the stage, didn't they, during the observation? And when you and I were looking at the route, we walked well back into the arena to get a good look at it.
We did, and so it would have been really hard, I think, to see some of those things.
There's definitely some detail you would not pick up from the stage, especially with the lighting. You get all sorts of different shadows on the wall. From the stage, it wasn't that easy to see pretty much the whole top third of the route.
Jane Kim has 2 minutes and 45 seconds left.
Yeah, that should be enough. I wouldn't have thought we'll see her really resting much from here on out. She's the third to last climber in the semi-final, as always seems to be the case. The second half has absolutely flown by. Smooth, calm and collected, as we've come to expect from Jane Kim. Wonderful to watch. I've always said Jane Kim's the climber you'd like to be. That's how I wish I could climb. That lovely smooth style. Instead of my sort of floundering style.
I have a kind of similar floundering style, but
yours is certainly a lot more effective than mine.
I've had commentators call it like reckless abandon. I don't think it's quite that reckless, but it's definitely not as elegant as Jane Kim looks.
Don't beat yourself up, no one is. It's amazing to watch. Jane Kim now up to 43, 44 plus required to get it, to guarantee a place in the final. There's hold 44. This pop up here, I think she might have to go with the right hand. I think she's trying to make that decision. Decides to go with the left and makes it work. So that's Jane Kim into the final. The neutrals will be pleased. Another of climbing's biggest of big names is through into tonight's final. That's 46 for Jane Kim, making 47.
The campus method to come into that hold.
Yeah, slightly different than we saw from Anna Verhoeven. Really having to work hard here, Jane Kim. Those right feet feel a long way away. Now she needs to get the clip done. Remember, you've got to clip all the quick draws in sequence. You can't just, if in doubt, run it out. And she gets it clipped. Has a final shakeout. She's got 40 seconds left on the clock. Smooth as you like, Jane Kim is going to top this route. She's got some pretty bad rope drag, but finds the top. Jane Kim's into the final. Top for her.
Got to be happy with that. She looks like it.
And again, the big top graphics flashed across the screen here in Innsbruck. You can see it kind of bouncing down because of the rope drag. Team South Korea very happy with that one and almost ends up in the front row of the crowd again on Yuka Kobayashi's lap there. So this was a big move out to 46. She looked so solid on it.
And she went for the campus method in. You could just see how far away that foot looks for her, but...
Yeah, I wondered at that stage if she might have to kind of swing and jab out with the right hand at the same time, but as it was,
she made it work.
Well, perhaps somewhat unsurprisingly, able to find a smooth and stylish way of doing it. And there you can see there's no drop in that last hold, no matter how pumped you are.
Stick a leg through it if you really need it.
Things got really desperate, yeah, exactly. Probably got a head jam in there if it was really urgent. So 2 climbers to come. Jessie Pilz, she's going to get some reception. Just wait for this when she makes her way out onto the stage. 10 podiums in her World Cup career before on the 11th one. She stood on the top step. She is now a World Cup winner. She's aiming to become a world champion as well. Jessie Pilz looking incredibly strong. Kyra Conley alongside me here, 2 climbers to go. And Kyra, I don't know if you have read the official program here in Innsbruck. I mean, I hope you have as a responsible member of the climbing community, but a fascinating interview with Udo Neumann, the German climbing coach between 2009 and 2017, and he was saying Jessie and Yanni Garnbret are so similar in the way they climb, they could be sisters, was the quote.
I don't know if I saw that actually, but
Jessie's made a real big step up this year. Her career's had an upward trajectory all the way, but this year it's felt like a big breakthrough, particularly with that win. And
definitely well deserved.
Yeah, her endurance right now is incredible.
Oh yeah, she was, you know, I was watching her train at the Cutters Zentrum while I was here, and she just makes some of the climbs look so easy. She's a strong boulder as well. She made some World Cup finals this year.
Yeah, so Jessie Pilz, the crowd gave her a big ovation and now settled down somewhat to hope that she just gets through this lower section. That's the most important thing. And secondly, that she gets through it with a minimum of fuss and effort. So there's going to be a bit of pressure on the route setters for the final. We've already got 2 climbers with a top. I can't say I'm going to bet against Jessie Pilz and Yanni Garnbret topping it, so we could potentially have 4 tops, and it's a bit early to be making predictions like that, but we've already got 2. We can't have count back to the qualifying round. Lots of ties going into the final. There's going to be real pressure on them to separate the climbers in the final.
There will be, yeah. Especially too, because even the people who don't make podium, their ranking for the overall will really matter. And if you have all these ties, it's it'll be difficult to separate people later too.
If it is for just to let you know, if it is for a podium position in the final and the climbers can't be separated to count back, which could well be the case with so many ties, it does actually come down to time on the final route. That's only if it's for a podium position. Interesting
tidbit is that the setter, Jan, told us that they put that blocker on that left heel hook so that people wouldn't heel hook. But didn't seem to make a difference for Jessie.
The route setters must hate you climbers. No matter what they do, you find a way around it. Jessie Pilz going stronger. Just saying about the ties, by the way, it's if it comes down to a podium position, if it's for a podium position, it does come down to time. If it's from lower than 4th, climbers can get the same ranking, so you can be tied for 4th in the final. But if it's for a podium, it will come down to time, which may favour some climbers ahead of others.
Do you think they'll still do that if, because yeah, your rank for the overall though will still matter. So I wonder if they'll separate people by time for that as well if there's more ties. I don't know.
Okay, that's a good question. Got the combined final next Sunday here, so we're not done for lead climbing after this weekend. Our attention shifts temporarily to speed and boulder. There is Hannah Schubert and Sandra Lettner.
Some strangely mellow music playing right now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a backhanded compliment to Jessie that nobody seems especially stressed at this stage. They're just kind of expecting her to get through this section.
She's definitely making it look not too hard.
Needs a 44 plus to guarantee a place in the final. Just to let you know, a 43 wouldn't be enough.
Jessie made that clip from that lower position, which is a good sign that she's feeling pretty good.
You can see there, top Anak Verhoeven and Jane Kim. Jessie still, if she was to fall here, not done enough to make it through to the final. She's got 2 minutes left, she's got ages left. How much energy has she got? We see on the big screen Hannah Schubert and Sandra Lettner again, giving her some big encouragement. If she can attempt the next move, she'll make it to the final. She's not only attempted the move, she's landed it. Jessie Pilz is going to be in the final. She'll have the chance to become a world champion in front of her home crowd tonight. But she may need a top in this semi-final to get that World Championship gold medal. So she needs to keep fighting. She's got 1 minute 25 left. Time's not going to be an issue.
Well, she static that move, which was honestly super impressive. Everyone else we've seen go for it has really jumped, swung out.
Jessie Pilz just needs to get that quick draw clipped. There it is. And this last move coming up, provided she's anything like accurate, doesn't slip, should be pretty straightforward. It's a big cheer from the crowd. It's not a top until she's clipped the last quick draw, which she now has done, and she can lower off. She's done everything she needs to do in the semi-final at 7 p.m. tonight. She will have the chance to win a world championship. Hannah Schubert looked like she had her heart in her mouth there.
You know, that's a big difference between bouldering and sport climbing, is you don't have to match the last hold.
Just got to clip the last quick draw.
You just have to clip the last quick draw.
As you might expect, Jessie Pilz getting the big shout out from the venue MC. Now a resident of Innsbruck, doesn't originally hail from here, but she recently moved to Innsbruck because of the Kletterzentrum, the massive new facility where our qualifiers have been taking place. And that was, well, if we're being pedantic, that was the top when she clicked the quick draw. So, top for 3 climbers. Let's be honest, it would be a big surprise if Janja Garnbret didn't top the route. And there we see a tie for 9th place. So if Janja Garnbret can get a 44 plus or higher, then she's going to go through to the final, and there's going to be a 10-person final. As it stands, there's going to be at least 9. We're on quite a tight schedule tonight on Austrian TV. So the route setters won't be getting any drinks bought for them by the Austrian TV director, who's now going to have to deal with more climbers than anticipated.
You know, sometimes the setters do take that into account, so we probably won't see such a wandering route in the final. Like this one kind of curves to the left and then curves back right, and it's like 50-something moves. So.
Tricky,
51 moves.
Yeah, tricky though. The route setters have already set the route. They can make some tweaks, but bear in mind it's now 10 to 4, and at 7 o'clock the final's getting underway.
True.
They don't have that much time to make adjustments. I mean, they might be able to chuck in a few extra holes to get rid of jumps potentially. I don't know what they can do. They can't really alter the essential structure of the route. But I suspect
they probably took it into account.
Yeah, I suspect they're aware of the TV schedule and set accordingly. So we've barely mentioned Janja Garnbret on the wall. And as I said, we can't mess around here. We expect Janja Garnbret to top the route if 3 other climbers have. It is an expectation. She has been that good over the past 3 years. She's the reigning world champion. She's won the last 2 Boulder Lead World Cup overall titles.
And the last Boulder World Cup that she competed in.
And the last Boulder World Cup, flashed all 4 boulders in the final.
It was a really impressive final by both her and Miho and Akio.
It was, yeah. And there was some debate. I mentioned it at the time in Munich. Gives you an insight into how difficult it is to set for the women right now in the bouldering and the lead. You've got climbers of the caliber of Fanny Gibert, 3rd in the overall standings in 2018, who could do 1 boulder, and you've got Janja, who flashed 4, and then Miho and Akio did all 4.
And flashed 3 of those, yeah.
Yeah, and flashed 3, and it really does make life difficult for the setters.
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, Janja, no question about it, by far and away the favourite here. But there's work to be done. She's not even halfway. Once she matches, in terms of moves, once she matches this hole, she'll be halfway. But she's under a bit of pressure. There'll be no doubt from the back of the wall what's gone on. She'll know the route's been topped.
Yeah, she seems to really thrive under this pressure, I've never seen her, climb in a style that seemed nervous, or even doubtful. She's really confident when she's on the wall, which is, I think, part of her, why she's so successful. about to get to the go to rest section over here.
Decides to go for the 360, nearly. Yes, does go for it.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that all of these like final girls have kind of all done that beta, which is clearly the intended beta, whereas many of the girls at the very beginning of the running order didn't do that beta. They kind of went feet first and matched hands and foot. And
there's the crane cam getting pretty close to the action. Janja Garnbret, 3 minutes to go. Time almost certainly not going to be an issue. Actually, was outside the arena this morning waiting for my co-commentator to make her way over from the Kletterzentrum, and somebody came over and said, "You're Charlie, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, I'm Janja's dad. Mum and dad had come." And they said it was the first time they've watched her live, which I was amazed by. But yeah, fun to meet the parents of climbing's biggest sensation right now. And they're somewhere down there below us in the arena, watching their daughter so far cruising this semi-final route. It's strange, there's almost a muted atmosphere in the arena. As I said, it's expectation with Janja Garnbret.
It is, and especially after the last 3 climbers have all topped the route, they just kind of are like, oh, okay, this one's going to be another top. But she still has a few more moves to go, but she's looking really fresh. I'm trying to remember if she was wearing that shoulder tape on her shoulder in Munich, and I don't think she was.
She picked up that's her into the final, by the way. She needed 44 plus, she's now got 45. She picked up a minor injury or a shoulder injury on the last boulder in Munich. And Janja Garnbret now heading out right with a minimal of fuss. As I say, the crowd here in the arena really just assumed she would top the route, and I think she's going to deliver on that assumption. You know what they do say about assuming, makes an ass of you and me, but on this occasion it's fair enough. It is Janja Garnbret after all, and she did that move in a bit more of a sketchy fashion that might have been necessary, but regardless, she finds a top.
I think it was the way that it was intended, though. When we were talking to Jan, their outsider, he told us that you go both hands to the finish. So. But then I thought maybe there was just a translation error, but
no,
that was definitely what Janja did.
Other climbers have just slapped out with the right hand and rolled onto it. Janja went full commitment, but gets the job done. Let's be honest, she doesn't even look tired.
She really didn't.
I mean, genuinely doesn't look tired.
She made that route look really, really nice, really chill.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot for the route setters to consider. They've now got to separate a big tie. We've got 10 climbers through to the final, so they've got ties for 4 climbers who are tied for 7th. They've got 4 climbers who are tied for 1st. They've got 3 hours to figure out a way to separate them. Actually, on second look, that was a pretty solid landing from Janja Garnbret. On first glance, in real time,
yeah, I don't think there was any chance that she was going to fall there, but...
No, I suppose not. You can see the coaching.
But it is a different method that we've seen.
Saw Perman Schäuber, the Swiss coach there, just heading his hands just to give what you have to do to stop this woman. And there you have it. We will bring you the rankings now. All 10 of those climbers are going to qualify for the final. Janja Garnbret, Jane Kim, Jessie Peltz, Anna Verhoeven, Ashima Shirashi, Mia Krampel, Mei Kotaki, Okuyo Noguchi, Hannah Shiba, Kotaki and Laura Rigora. Apologies if I read some of those names twice. I had to switch from the on-screen graphic to my computer. That was rounding out the rest of the top 20. Margot Hayes, Sandra Lettner. Luchka Rakovic, who was downgraded for standing on a bolt, would have made it through to the final. Heartbreaking.
We would have had 11 people then, too.
We would have had 11. As it is, we're going to have 10. I've been Charlie Bosco. You've been Cara Conley. Thank you very much for your company. Some fascinating insights. I thoroughly enjoyed having you. I think we might be about to see, just before we say goodbye, might be about to see a replay. There it is. That was Luchka Rakovic.
Yeah, and you can see that she, didn't actually mean to do it. It just kind of slid to being right on the bolt. But
you just feel something under your foot and you tread on it. It's a shame for Luchka because she would have been the final, but sadly
it's really a bummer too, because the same people who would be in the final would also still be in the final because of this tie that we had.
So it wouldn't have cost anyone.
It actually wouldn't have cost anyone, and she would be in the final. So
tough final.
It's really too bad, yeah.
Yeah, tough finish for Luchka, but rules are rules, and sadly she is counted back to 38. So, as I say, I've been Charlie Bosco. Cara Conley, thank you very much for your company. Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you guys at home 7 p.m. Innsbruck time. That's in just over 3 hours for the final.
So gestalten, dass dann doch ein Ergebnis zustande kommt. Es ist mutig gewesen von den Routenbahn, für die Zuschauer natürlich total super, aber jetzt das Finale extrem spannend. Wir schauen, vielleicht kriegen wir jetzt noch ein Interview mit Jessie Beans. Momentan ist sie beim ORF, aber dann, meine Damen und Herren, in wenigen Augenblicken eigentlich schon wieder die Tore auf. Um 17:30 Uhr öffnen wir hier die Olympiahalle, denn um 19 Uhr geht es hier los mit dem Finale. Da drüben steht sie, da werden wir uns kurz rüber bewegen, dass wir da vielleicht die eine oder andere Stimme dann noch erhaschen können. Und dann hoffen wir, liebe Fans, dass ihr dabei seid. Heute um 19 Uhr beim großen Finale, morgen Semifinale der Herren zur gleichen Zeit wie heute, 13 Uhr. Und das Finale der Herren morgen natürlich am Sonntag ebenfalls um 19 Uhr. Die zwei Finalistinnen steht beim Interview, aber was die wahrscheinlich zu sagen haben, das ist mit positiven Gefühlen kaum zu überstrahlen. Da fällt schon auch gehörig Last ab, wenn du das jetzt genau gebracht hast, was du dir eigentlich gewünscht hast. Ja, genau, das ist ich glaube, wir sind ein Riesenstein vom Herzen gefallen. Sie haben ein Strahlen im Gesicht, das wir uns eigentlich immer wünschen. Auch die anderen Stelle gratulieren wir der Jessie. Jessie und Hanna, kommt kurz her, wenn ihr noch hier seid, ein Sonderapplaus. Wahnsinn! Jessie, erzähl uns ganz kurz, wie war es hier zu klettern?
Ja, es war mega. Es war super Stimmung. Ich war natürlich mega nervös am Anfang, aber bin mega nervös.